So now that Trump's IEEPA tariffs have been deemed illegal, what happens now with the over $133 billion he took in with those tariffs? Does it have to be refunded? Well, in Trump's press conference today, even he said he was uncertain how that will work out and that it will be litigated over the next 2 years. And he is right. The Supreme Court's decision today was merely about the legality of the tariffs. It says nothing about the refund process, so they effectively left that up to the lower courts. But in a lower appeals court in the course of this case being played out in May, Trump's DOJ said clearly if their tariffs are found unlawful, they will issue refunds. Plus, the court's decision today says the tariffs were illegal when imposed. So many are taking that as refunds are a must. So what would be the process? Again, we don't know. These cases will likely play out in the U.S. Court of International Trade, which is a court specialized in handling duties and tariffs cases. This was the court who initially deemed Trump's tariffs illegal in May, which led to the appeal that led to this decision. So will the American people see any refunds? Well, it was the importing companies who directly pay the tariffs and pass along some of that to the consumer. So it'll be the companies who get the refund, and probably, if anything, the consumer could be helped by mitigating the scope of future price increases. But Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said straight up today he's got a feeling the American people won't see any of the tariff revenue. We have breaking news. The Supreme Court has just struck down most of Trump's tariffs. Shut up. Nope. In a 6-3 decision with Chief Roberts writing for the majority, they say the International Emergency Economic Powers Act does not authorize the president to unilaterally impose tariffs without Congress. Whoa. Who dissented and has Trump responded? Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Brett Kavanaugh dissented, while Trump also called it a disgrace and says he has a backup plan. Well, what happens now to the $150 billion in tariffs that the administration has already taken in under this act? Is it refunded? So the decision is not entirely clear on that. It does not say whether nor how refunds are done, but it says the refund process will likely be a mess, so implying the refunds will happen. We'll learn more about that as time goes. So what can Trump do now in terms of tariffs? So there are specifically congressionally authorized levers that the president still has, and Justice Kavanaugh actually listed them out in his dissent, implying the president could impose the tariffs by checking another box. Can he? Well, Kavanaugh was in the dissent, but he's right. There's stuff like Section 232, which gives the president tariff powers only after a Commerce Department investigation, which deems national security risk. But most of the tariffs Trump has put on so far were through IEEPA, right? Which the Supreme Court said no more. Yup, all the Liberation Day tariffs, the fentanyl ones, the vast majority of the tariffs he's put on so far were through IEEPA, and the court just said no more. But he has already used things like Section 232 for things like steel, aluminum, and copper, so we can imagine he will try to Trump should bomb Iran. No, he definitely shouldn't. We are trying to path of diplomacy right now. There's talks in Switzerland, but if those fail, we are left with no other choices. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Wait, what happened to completely obliterating their nuclear facility?
Hold on, guys. We are live. Sorry. I didn't want to go to that one. Whoa, jumped a bit ahead of the show there, guys. But all right, man. This is Set with Set Media, guys, and we're back with another one. We're about to get into the taking down of Trump's tariffs, and we're about to get a full explanation of what's going on and Trump's plans going forward. So let's get right into it. And this is going to be a short live, or try to make it short. Not really feeling too well, but let's get right into it. And we're also going to get into that Tucker Carlson interview as well. Don't worry. Let's get on.
Wow, that's a lot of people. That's a new record. We set a record every time. Well, thank you very much for being here. The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. I'd like to thank and congratulate Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh for their strength and wisdom and love of our country, which is right now very proud of those justices. When you read the dissenting opinions, there's no way that anyone can argue against them. There's no way. Foreign countries that have been...
the dissenting opinions, or the Supreme Justices that voted in Trump's favor was pretty much like, I don't even know why y'all doing this. One is like you're trying to take away leverage from the president that he's used in the favor of America. Two, all of the predictions that the left came up with, like, oh, it's going to tank the economy, lead to high prices, like recession. None of that came true. Oh, inflationary, that didn't come true either. So what was the real point of striking it down? Honestly, it was to align with corporate interests, in my personal opinion. But we'll see as time goes on.
Ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing.
And here's the other pointless point of striking it down. Remember, they only struck down, what was it? The IEEPA route. They took down one route of Trump's tariffs. He still got Section 301, Section 232. He still got Section 122 that he can go off of. Well, he actually went off Section 122 right now with the 10% global tariffs that will be enacted within 72 hours.
For long, that I can assure you. The Democrats on the court are thrilled, but they will automatically vote no. They're an automatic no, just like in Congress. They're an automatic no. They're against anything that makes America strong, healthy, and great again. They also are a, frankly, disgrace to our nation, those justices. They're an automatic no, no matter how good a case you have. It's a no. But you can't knock their loyalty. It's one thing you can do with some of our people. Others think they're being politically correct, which has happened before far too often with certain members of this court. And it's happened so often with this court. What a shame. Having to do with voting in particular, when in fact they're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats, and not that this should have anything at all to do with it. They're very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution.
I'm gonna be real with you, yeah, because instead of being for the American people, they played out the corporate interest, and that's just a fact of the matter. I'm like, and here's the thing: it goes to prove, well, that yes, these American companies was taking on the brunt of the tariffs. Yeah, we knew that the importers are the ones that pay the tariff. That wasn't the argument. It was getting these bad actors to start switching over to, well, or to start relying on domestic industries or domestic producers instead of selling out to foreigners. But apparently they wanted to sell out to foreigners so bad that they was willing to, well, take it up with the courts. And, well, they won. Kind of.
It's my opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interests and a political movement that is far smaller than people would ever think. It's a small movement. I won by millions of votes. We won in a landslide. With all the cheating that went on, there was a lot of it. We still won in a landslide. Too big to rig. But these people are obnoxious, ignorant, and loud. They're very loud. And I think certain justices are afraid of that. They don't want to do the right thing. They're afraid of it. This was an important case to me, more as a symbol of economic national security. And also, I would say, just for our country itself, so important, because we're doing so well as a country. We've never done so well. The good news is that there are...
Yeah, I mean, where's the arguments that tariffs were inflationary when inflation is down? Where's the argument that tariffs was going to cause a recession? GDP's up. So I'm gonna be real with you. If it was about the American people and helping the American people out by taking down the tariffs, I mean, that's a lie. That's not an argument. It just all aligns with corporate interest and them selling out the American people. And it seems like the corporate justice, I mean, not the corporate justice, but the Supreme Court justices are going along with it. Because guess who's going to be getting these refunds? Not us. No, y'all thought the cost was passed down to y'all. No, y'all won't be getting no tariff refund check. No, it's going to be the big corporate guys. It's going to be them. So guess what? I was right. You guys were shaking y'all ass in a circle for the corporate elites, and y'all fell for it. Now, billions of dollars is going to go back to them. Not you, but them. The same people that you want to raise taxes on. They could have passed that cost down to your ass as well. But I mean, hey, I guess you weren't trying to hear the common sense of what Trump was trying to do.
Methods, practices, statutes, and authorities, as recognized by the entire court in this terrible decision, and also as recognized by Congress, which they refer to, that are even stronger than the IEEPA tariffs available to me as President of the United States. And in actuality, I was very modest in my ask of other countries and businesses because I wanted to do, and it's very important, I wanted to be very well behaved because I wanted to do anything. I didn't want to do anything that would affect the decision of the court, because I understand the court. I understand how they are very easily swayed. I want to be a good boy. I have very effectively utilized tariffs over the past year to make America great again. Our stock market has just recently broken 50,000 on the Dow, and simultaneously, and even more amazingly, broken 7,000 on the S&P, two numbers that everybody thought upon our landslide election victory could not be attained. Think of that. Nobody thought it was possible to do it within 4 years, and we did it in 1 year. They said, you'll never be able, you'll go back and you read the geniuses, read their statements, all of the Nobel Prize winners in economics. They said, no, you couldn't do it in 4 years. Well, we didn't do it in 4 years. We did it in 1 year. We broke every record in the book, and we're continuing to do so. Tariffs have likewise been used to end 5 of the 8 wars that I settled. I settled 8 wars, whether you like it or not, including India, Pakistan, big ones, nuclear, could have been nuclear. Prime Minister of Pakistan said yesterday at the great meeting that we had, the Peace Board, he said yesterday that President Trump could have saved 35 million lives by getting us to stop fighting. They were getting ready to do some bad things, but they've given us great national security, these tariffs have, and together with our strong borders, reduced fentanyl coming into our country by 30%. When I use them as a penalty against countries illegally sending this poison into our country to poison our youth, all of those tariffs remain. They all remain. I don't know if you know that or not. They all remain. We're still getting them, and we will after the decision. Guess there's nobody left to appeal to. But again, those 3 people, such respect. I've had a lot of respect for them anyway, but such great respect. But other alternatives will now be used to replace the ones that the court incorrectly rejected.
Told you.
We have alternatives.
Bruh, I mean, that's what I'm saying too. I was like, I ain't gonna lie. The way Trump was doing it, this way was the nice way. I mean, he has alternatives. Actually, I was surprised that he didn't use section what was it? Yeah, 232 instead. Like, that would have been a way better way to carry out the sweeping tariffs, because you could definitely, I'm gonna be real with you, there's definitely a lot of I'll be real, a lot of our allies who claim to be allies who practice very duplicitous trade tactics. So we can't sit there and pretend like we don't have a case for that, and he couldn't invoke the tariffs that way as well. So yes, he has other options. That's why this wasn't really the win that, well, the Democrats framed it out to be. And guess what? They're gonna start calling this man a dictator because he's like, well, Trump is still using the tariffs, even though the Supreme Court struck him down. Wrong. The Supreme Court struck down the use of his tariffs under the IEEPA Act, which is the International Economic Emergency Powers Act. That's it. He still has full use of tariffs under the trade acts. Y'all gonna have to get down with that.
Great alternatives. Could be more money. We'll take in more money, and we'll be a lot stronger for it. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. We'll continue to do so. To show you how ridiculous the opinion is, however, the court said that I'm not allowed to charge even $1. I can't charge $1. Can't charge $1. I would have used 1 penny, but we don't make the pennies anymore. We save money. Can't charge $1 to any country under IEPA. Not $1. I assume to protect other countries. This must have been done to protect those other countries, certainly not the United States of America, which they should be interested in protecting. That's what they're supposed to be protecting. But I am allowed to cut off.
I mean, yeah, there was protecting the corporate interests of selling out Americans. And the funny thing is that the Dems played right into their hands. They cheered for the corporate elites or the corporate agenda. And, well, y'all fell for it. They said the tariffs are getting passed down to you, but no, the importers pay them. And if it's I'm gonna be real with you guys. I don't know why maybe y'all need to go back to economics class, but I'm about to explain to you the value of competition in the market. Competition in the market is one of the main controllers of price. So when you guys sit there with that incorrect assumption that it gets passed down straight to the consumer, regardless of the market that it's in or industry, you guys sound pretty freaking dumb and ignorant, because it does depend on competition. And a lot of these, guys are in pretty competitive markets, which means that they can't pass down the cost to the customer, and they're going to have to take it to the overhead, or they're going to go ahead and take it to the profit margin. And I mean, you kind of seen through some of the overhead costs, or I would say that laying off Well, of employees. That was their way of dealing with the tariffs. So, I mean, you could argue about that, but saying that it was directly passed down to the consumer through cost is a complete lie. And you don't know anything about competition in the market.
Any and all trade or business with that same country.
But like I said, hey, that's a macroeconomics topic for you when it comes to tariffs.
In other words, I can destroy the trade. I can destroy the country. I'm even allowed to impose a foreign country destroying embargo. I can embargo. I can do anything I want, but I can't charge $1.
Yep.
Because that's not what it says. And that's not the way it even reads. I can do anything I want to do to them, but I can't charge any money. So I'm allowed to destroy the country, but I can't charge them a little fee. I could give them a little 2-cent fee, but I cannot charge under any circumstances. I cannot.
And I told you guys about this like during the beginning of these arguments. I was like, bro, they was literally saying that the man can't charge a 1% tariff, but he can go ahead and hit people with 100% embargo. And I'm just like, bro, what? Like, hold on. You're telling me he can't use the wooden stick? You want him to go straight to the steel rod? Like, what are we saying?
Charge them anything.
That was their argument.
Think of that. How ridiculous is that? I'm allowed to embargo them. I'm allowed to tell them you can't do business in the United States anymore. We want you out of here. But if I want to charge them $10, I can't do that.
Yep.
It's incorrect. Their decision's incorrect. But it doesn't matter because we have very powerful alternatives that have been approved by this decision. You know, they've been approved by the decision for those that thought they had us. And they're saying that I have the absolute right to license, but not the right to charge a license fee. So think of that. I have the right.
Oh, God, do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people in the conversation. Bye. Double tapping that screen because I guess we got to give another lesson on how tariffs work. Because like I said, y'all forgot about the competition factor in the market. And you also forgot about the fact that, Trump has other options. He has other options to lay out these tariffs. I mean, he just laid one of them out, 10% global tariff. He's out to do that under Section 122 of the Trade Act.
Right to license, which is a very powerful word. In many ways, license is more powerful than tariffs. In fact, I was thinking about using it. But they came up with the idea that I can license, just like the people that were opposing me told them to do, but not the right to charge a license fee. Think of that. Who ever heard of such a thing? What license has ever been issued without the right to charge a fee? You get a license, you charge a fee. It's automatic, but not with this court. But now the court has given me the unquestioned right to ban all sorts of things from coming into our country, to destroy foreign countries. But a much more powerful right than many people.
Like I said, the Supreme Court pretty much said, all right, you can't do a 1% tariff, but you can go ahead and pull on a full embargo on a country. And I'm just like, what? So they're pretty much saying, no, you don't halfway with them. It's either you leave them alone or you just cut them off completely. And I'm just like, well, we're trying to negotiate with them, not cut them off. But I mean, hey, man, just read the documents on this with the Supreme Court released under arguments. That's literally what they're saying. That's why it makes like literally no sense why they said it. And then also they only struck down, well, I mean, I would say like 25% of his tariff authority because he can still go through the trade acts and all that good stuff. So I'm not really sure what was the point of it.
Never thought we even had, but not the right to charge a fee. How crazy is that? Our country is the hottest country anywhere in the world right now. And it was a dead country 1.5 years ago under an incompetent president. But now I'm going to go in a different direction. Probably the direction that I should have gone the first time, but I read the language. I'm very good at reading language, and it read our way 100%. But now I'll go the way I could have gone originally, which is even stronger than our original choice.
Yep.
As Justice Kavanaugh, whose stock has gone so well, you have to see, I'm so proud of him, wrote in his dissent, although I firmly disagree with the court's holding today, the decision might not substantially constrain a president's ability to order tariffs going forward. So, think of that. The decision might not substantially constrain. And it doesn't. He's right. In fact, I can charge much more than I was charging.
Yep.
So I'm going to just start.
I mean, like I said, one of the most dumbest things they said was, well, you can't charge a 1% tariff, but you could cut off a country completely with an embargo. And then they only struck down his use of the International Economic Powers Act. Yeah, they only struck down that. He could still use, sections of the Trade Act that Congress has allowed him. So he's not going outside the Constitution. So, yeah, I mean, I'll be real with you. I always did say his whole argument, or the Supreme Court's argument on his tariffs, was a straw man, because I'm like, yeah, well, that's a very small percentage of his authority to tariff. Like, he honestly could replace those tariffs under different sections of the Trade Act. He still has that authority. So when they struck down this small percentage, honestly, it kind of just showed the hand of the Supreme Court and how aligned of what corporate interests they are. And we're glad to know what side they are on. Like, now we know. Now we know.
Though I firmly disagree with the court's holding today, the decision might not substantially constrain a president's ability to order tariffs going forward. That's because numerous other federal statutes, which is so true, authorize the president to impose tariffs and might justify most, if not all, of the tariffs issued in this case. Even more tariffs, actually. Those statutes include, think of that, those statutes include, for example, the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, Section 232. All of these things I know so well. The Trade Act of 1974, Sections 122, 201, 301.
And maybe if you don't know, I'll just explain some of them to you. Section 232, Trade Expansion Act of 1962, which Congress passed, which allows the president, and pretty much they're national security based tariffs. And that's what he pretty much did for steel and aluminum and other section problems as well. I mean, he could also do that for his sweeping tariffs and just call them a concern of national security. And you want to know whose discretion that's at? Well, the Secretary of Commerce. And who's the Secretary of Commerce right now? Our very shady Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick. Yes, the one that pretty much lied about his acquaintance with Epstein. But outside the point, yes, it's up to his discretion on if these tariffs are on a good base of national security. And he can do that under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962. He can do that. It's all within his authority. And all under discretion of the Secretary of Commerce, which is Howard Lutnick, who's standing right next to him.
And the Tariff Act of 1930, Section 338, all clear. But it's a little bit longer process. I thought I'd make things simple. But they didn't let us do that. I would like to thank Justice Kaplan.
Oh, and then also there is Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, which is passed by Congress, which allows the president to use tariffs tied to unfair trade practices. So if he determines that these are unfair trade practices by these countries, he can go ahead and invoke them right back again under Section 301 of the Trade Act. So yeah, and that's probably one of the strongest replacements for, the way he kind of hit everybody with that global tariff, the Liberation Day tariffs. Yeah, he didn't have to do under the Emergency Powers Act. He could have honestly just did Section 301, and that'd have been a pretty good one to hit him with, and we had a stronger case, honestly. But I mean, hey, it's a pretty smart move. Let them take down the weakest one, and he'll stick with the stronger case.
But for frankly, his genius and his great ability.
Maybe it was luck.
That appointment. In actuality, while I am sure that they did not mean to do so, the Supreme Court's decision today made a president's ability to both regulate trade and impose tariffs more powerful.
I mean, no, this comment says it all right here, bro. It's like, yeah, there's many ways to invoke tariffs. The Supreme Court just struck down one. And that's what you Dems got to understand.
Powerful and more crystal clear rather than less. I don't think they meant that. I'm sure they didn't. It's terrible. And to think that the Democrats who oppose this only because they want to go the opposite way, they'd like to pack the court. They want to put on 21 people. They want to pack the court, pack the Supreme Court. Maybe they should do it. Maybe they would be better off if they did it. They want to pack the court. They want to do anything to hurt our country. There will no longer be any doubt, and the income coming in and the protection of our companies and country will actually increase because of this decision. I don't think the court meant that, but it's the way it is. Based on long-standing law and hundreds of victories, and even, as I was pointed out before, even thousands of victories over the years, to the contrary, the Supreme Court did not overrule tariffs. They merely overruled a particular use of IEEPA tariffs.
Yep.
And essentially, it's used to get a fee. I can do anything I want with IEEPA, anything. I just can't charge anybody for it. I can license, I just can't charge them. It's ridiculous, but it's okay because we have other ways, numerous other ways. The ability to block, embargo, restrict, license, or impose any other condition on a foreign country's ability to conduct trade with the United States under IEEPA has been fully confirmed by this decision. So now there's no doubt, because, you know, there were a lot of questions about tariffs because no president was smart enough to use them to protect our country from those countries and businesses that were ripping us off. You took a look at the deficits that we had with some of these countries. It was disgraceful what they got away with for many, many decades. But now we know, because this decision affirms all those things that some people weren't sure about. Mm-hmm. In order to protect, and it says so, in order to protect our country, a president can actually charge more tariffs than I was charging in the past period of a year under the various tariff authorities. So we can use other of the statutes, other of the tariff authorities, which have also been confirmed and are fully allowed. Therefore, effective immediately, all national security tariffs under Section 232 and existing Section 301 tariffs, they're existing, they're there, remain in place, fully in place, mm-hmm. and in full force and effect.
Yeah, and it does look like he's going to need to invoke Section 301 and Section 230. Well, yeah, Section 232. One is going to require an investigation to build more, durable arguments for tariffs, and that's probably going to be his best route. And like I said, it's at the discretion of the Commerce Secretary. Yeah, the Secretary of Commerce, which is Howard Lutnick, who's right beside the man right now. So I'm pretty sure he's going to go along with this, do the investigation, and they're going to pretty much substantiate a lot of these tariffs that was lost under the Supreme Court's decision.
Today, I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122 over and above our normal tariffs already being charged. And we're also initiating several Section 301 and other investigations to protect our country from unfair trading practices of other countries and companies.
Yep.
Thank you for your attention to this matter. And I say quite simply, which I've said for a long time, make America great again. And interestingly, we've already made it great, so I don't have to use that, but I don't think we'll ever give up on MAGA. MAGA is always going to be with us. If you have a few questions, you can let us know. But just to end, so we're going forward, we will be able to take in more money, and there'll no longer be doubt, because there was always doubt. I know the people that brought the lawsuit, and they're sleazebags, major sleazebags, but I know them, and they're a foreign country.
Yeah, not really working for the people, but working for corporate interests to be able to sell our jobs overseas. Well, or my bad, not sell our jobs, but push our jobs overseas. Yeah, that's what it was all for. Not for the American people, not to save you money, but to allow your jobs to continue to be transported overseas and allow these pretty much foreign goods to continue to flood our markets instead of depending on our, the small businesses, the mom and pop shops and all that good stuff. It's kind of crazy that Dems were against it, but it is what it is. These are the guys that say, oh, we want to take out the corporate elites and we're the socialists and all that. But you guys pretty much worked hand in hand with the corporate elites when it came to tariffs. Crazy.
Centric. They were sending things into our country.
Good job.
And the people representing them knew full well, but they were sending things into our country and they were beneficial to other countries, but very, very bad for us. And I stopped it, and we'll just keep it going. So we have a totally firm decision now. And I don't think the court meant it, because the court doesn't show great spirit toward our country, in my opinion. A lot of bad decisions, but there are usually ways around it. This is something we could have done, as Justice Kavanaugh said, we could have done this originally, but we're doing it now. And the numbers could be far greater than the hundreds of billions we've already taken in.
Yeah. And I already made this argument earlier when the Supreme Court arguments first came up, or when it first got brought up to the Supreme Court. I was like, you don't really have to, crash out on this, on the Economic Emergency Powers Act. Like I said, it was other routes he can go to get these tariffs off. And that's exactly what he's doing. To be real with you, it kind of seems like, the Supreme Court argument against Trump's tariffs was pretty much a straw man, because you're only attacking one way he can invoke tariffs, just one, not his overall power of being able to invoke tariffs, just one route. I mean, just for him to switch over to other routes? I mean, it was kind of a waste of their time in a way.
Please.
Mr. President, I'm very curious.
Thank you so
much, Mr. President. Justice Thomas and Alito, as you know, are the most conservative constitutional justices. Do you think that you'll get to appoint 2 more justices later this term with similar ideologies? And what type of vetting process will they go through to ensure they uphold?
I don't know, but they're great justices. That's all I can say. And I hope they're going to be around a long time. I hope they're going to stay healthy. They're great people. They're great. And Justice Alito, too, to add to the group. These are great men.
Right.
With a great love of our country and a great understanding of the law.
Mr. President, are you going to ask Congress to take additional action on tariffs now?
No, I don't need to. It's already been approved. I mean, I would ask Congress and probably get it. When people look at the real numbers, and you look at hundreds of billions of dollars that have come into our country. Yesterday, I was at a steel plant, as you know, and I went to great place, great plant, great, wonderful people. And they were telling me, I said to them, you were there, a lot of the press in this room. Of course, I don't think this plane's big enough to take the press in this room, but a lot of the press right here. We're in Georgia. And I said to the owner, I made a speech at a factory. They make steel products. And I said, how are you? Nice to meet you. How's business? President, I'd love to kiss you. This is a very powerful man. I don't want to be kissed by that man, but a very powerful, strong man. He's been in the steel business for many years. His father started it. And he said, sir, I want to kiss you. I said, why? He said, because we were down to working 1 hour a week. And then you came in and imposed tariffs. And all of that foreign junk that they were dropping into our country stopped. And we're now going to double shifts, 7 days a week, and we may be very soon going to 24 hours around the clock, almost 7 days a week.
Yeah, it has been announced that, it looks like we done tripled our steel production to the point we've outpaced Japan when it comes to steel production. And I mean, that's just the power of tariffs. Honestly, not only did it keep these foreigners, I'm not going to go ahead and blame the whole world. I'm just going to go ahead and blame China. Let's be real. It's China. We're really trying to keep China steel out. But instead of just letting China's watered down steel flood our markets, we've now made, these guys who build buildings and other stuff depend on domestic steel producers instead of relying on Chinese steel producers. What does up the demand for U.S. steel, which is now why we're outpacing Japan, because we honestly had to create a demand for U.S. steel by driving up the prices of that watered up or that watered down steel that was coming out of China with the 55% tariffs. And this is what companies didn't want. For some reason, they rather sell out to foreign interests than actually help their fellow Americans. It is what it is, but hey, apparently the Dems were against that. Like I said, they kind of fell for the corporate interest or the corporate agenda, I like to say. What can I say? Y'all was working hand in hand with them, with your whole argument against tariffs, saying that it goes directly to the consumer. When, think about it like this, when these tariff refunds happen, who is it going to go to? Not you guys. It's going to go to the American firms, aka the companies who are paying these tariffs in the first place and not really passing it down to the consumer. So, I mean, y'all are wrong on that, and y'all kind of help them get their money back. So think about it. The very corporate elites that you guys hate, y'all just help them get their money back. Good job, by the way, man. That's some, bro, I ain't gonna lie. That's some A1 brainwashing right there. You guys, shout out to the corporate elites. Chef's kiss.
He said, "Sir, I want to kiss you so badly." And I said, "No, thank you." But you know what? He just to finalize it, he said, "Oh, this is a great place in Georgia." He said, "All up and down the highway, same exact answer, sir. We're all going out of business. We're going to go bankrupt. We're all going out of business, and now every one of us are thriving."
I'm brainwashed. Hold on. Did y'all not wanted to raise corporate tax? Y'all were the ones who wanted to vote for Kamala because she was going to raise taxes on the corporate elites, right? And then for some reason now, y'all didn't see how that could get passed down to you. Know, they could have passed the cost down to you as well through raising the corporate tax. So here comes Trump pretty much hitting the corporate elites and punishing them for pretty much buying outside of America, sending their money outside, shipping their jobs outside. Here he is punishing them for that. And you guys are pretty much in line with the corporate elites to take that away. I mean, I'm brainwashed. You guys ran on going against the corporate elites. And here you guys are championing them, working for them. And I'm brainwashed? Bro, I feel like I'm more liberal than you guys now. I'm more liberal than the average Kamala Harris supporter at this point because I understood the agenda. F the corporate elites. They want to sell out our jobs. They do not care about the American people. Y'all was like, no, we want to help them get their money back. Son of a bitch. Who'd have knew, bro? Who'd have knew I'd have been more of the liberal on this. MAGA would be more liberal than you guys when it came to the corporate elites. And then y'all want to complain about them and how much money they make. But y'all just champion them to get their money back. But I'm brainwashed. Okay, brother.
And we're hiring people like we haven't. He said, like I've never, and he's been in business for, I think, 45 years, like we've never hired before. That's because of tariffs. And we're going to keep it going the same way. And you're going to start to see the results in a year from now when all those factories start that are under construction right now. You see all the construction numbers are so good. Those construction workers are building factories that are going to be open, including not only AI, which is big, but car plants coming in from Canada, who ripped us off for 30% of our market. Mexico ripped us off for a big portion. Over the years, they've taken our market.
And here's the thing, though. We all agree that what Trump is saying is right. They've taken our market. They've taken a lot of jobs away from Americans. So what would be y'all way to get it back? Y'all don't have one. That's the funny thing about them. Y'all are arguing. You know, you agree with us that, you know what, you're right. No, these corporate elites are like they're pushing our jobs overseas. They're making bigger profits, and it's not really helping the American people. We all agree that's happening. What have y'all done? Nothing. But when Trump does something about it, you go against it. You work with the corporate elites to get the tariffs overturned. And it didn't even work out for you guys. It didn't work out. But it just exposed how brainwashed you guys are. Like I said, you were the same ones that wanted to raise taxes on these guys, which, and be real with you, that could have got passed down to you guys as well. But for some reason, Trump hit these guys with tariff, punishing them for pretty much going outside of America. And you guys are against that? But y'all were the same ones for raising taxes on them. And this is essentially a tax on them. And if you guys' argument saying that, oh, well, it can get passed on to the American consumer, so could any tax. So then what's your argument then? That we don't tax them at all? Like, it really makes sense of what you're saying here. So if a tariff is a tax on the consumer, well, then guess what? So is a corporate tax. Any tax really on them, it could get passed down to us. So what are you saying? Just don't tax them at all. Because if that's what you're going for, no taxes at all, I might be with you on that.
In our cars, they manufacture them in Japan, Germany, and all over the place. Because nobody's standing in this position. The position I have as president of the United States had the insight, the courage. Well, I don't know what it is to charge tariffs. You can make your product outside. You can put our people out of business. You can put everybody on the unemployment rolls. But if you're going to make a car in some other country, you're going to pay a 15, 20, 30% tariff. And those things would have never happened. We wouldn't have lost our business. Same thing with, as an example, Taiwan. Taiwan came in. They stole our chip business. They make chips. For 30 years longer, they made chip. And they put our companies. Intel would be now the largest company. I saved Intel. I literally saved it at the beginning of this administration. And now all those companies in Taiwan are building factories in Arizona, Texas, and various other places because they don't want to pay tariffs. They're all pouring into the United States. But just like that great patriot said yesterday, sir, what you've done, nobody thought was possible.
No, bro.
And
see, I mean, Justin, you're kind of stupid because everything you guys said was wrong. Think about it like this. You said that tariffs were going to tank the stock market. Stock markets have seen record high. You said it was inflationary. Inflation's down. I mean, come on now, bro. You got to admit when y'all were wrong. The tariffs wasn't a failure. Actually, everything you guys said about the tariffs, that's the failure. Y'all predictions were actually, those are what got the F mark. You said that was going to crash the market. We record high. Sorry, you got an F on that prediction, buddy. You said it was inflationary. Well, inflation's down. And to be real with you, gas prices went down as well. And other items on your grocery list. So you got an F on that prediction. Like, please tell me where tariffs failed at.
And Steve Moore, a highly respected economist, came into my office yesterday. He said, you've done something nobody's ever done.
Hey, yo, and shout out to my man for starting us off, man, the lunatic libertarian. He says, all centralized systems are failed. Man, look, bro, you know what? I'm about to be on your type of time tonight because these guys piss me off. It's like everybody sold out for the corporate agenda. Because trust me, even the Supreme Justices, like some of them are Republicans, so-called Republicans, sold out to the corporate agenda. They just wanted their money back. And then they sold this lie to the Dems talking about tariffs is a tax on the consumer. Like, bro, that means any tax is a tax on the consumer, bro. Anything can get passed down to us, you dumbass. It all equates to the cost of it. Like, are you serious? Like, at this point, bro, I'm starting to lose faith in some of these guys, bro. So some of them. Because there's just no way y'all just fell for this. Like, y'all got to be smarter than that.
Done. 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics said we would right now be in a recession. And you said, no, we're going to have a booming country. We're going to have a booming country. You were right. All 22 were wrong, and you were right. This country is booming, and it's booming because of the election on November 5th, and it's booming for another reason. It's booming because of tariffs. Yeah, please, go ahead.
What will you say ahead of this decision that if the Supreme Court
please,
ruled?
go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. What will you say to foreign nations who seek to renegotiate their deals? And what did you mean a moment ago when you said that the Supreme Court has been swayed by foreign interests?
Well, I think that foreign interests are represented by people that I believe have undue influence. They have a lot of influence over the Supreme Court, whether it's through fear or respect or friendships. I don't know. But I know some of the people that were involved on the other side, and I don't like them. I think they're real slime balls. And
so, I mean, bro, are you that dumb? Bro, Congress has appropriated powers to the president through the Trade Act, through the Trade Expansion Act. Like, bro, do you even know anything about the government? Before you make that argument, like, really think about what you just said. You're right. Congress gave or appropriated powers to the president to levy taxes and to also gave him tariffing power. Are you dumb? Yeah, everything was done through Congress. We know that. Like, I'm sorry, bro. You might be a bit uneducated, bro. Sit on your fingers for a little bit. I mean, you got to at least make some type of educated comments here. And I've been watching you for a minute, and you ain't saying out one thing that made sense. Like you and Justin, sadly.
Got to do what's right for the country. You got to do what's right for the Constitution. That's why I respect so much Justice Thomas and Alito, Kavanaugh, because they not only dissented, their dissent is so strong. When you read their dissent, you know, a lot of times you'll read a dissent and it's like, well, you don't know, it could go either way. There's no other way. The good news is, it's like Justice Kavanaugh said, very strongly said, you have other ways you can go. You don't have to go that way. You can go other way. There are numerous other ways you can go. And frankly, this should have been done by presidents many years ago. They allowed our country to be eaten alive. We lost 50% of our car business. We used to make cars. We made all the cars. And then Mexico came, Canada came, Japan and Germany. But they're all coming back now. They're all coming back. And
bro, the Supreme Court doesn't agree with you. They don't. See, now I know you're really a dumbass. The Supreme Court don't agree with you on tariff being a failed plan. They agree with you on what? Do you even know what they struck down? The International Economic Emergency Powers Act. They do not agree with Trump using that as a reason to invoke tariffs. They don't agree with you that tariffs are a failure. Not at all. So, like, bro, go read or something. You sound retarded. If you really say, oh, the Supreme Court agrees with me, no, they don't. Like, they didn't even take an opinion on tariffs.
Record level. No, you please. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking. I don't talk to CNN. It's fake news. Go ahead.
Mr. President, yesterday you made the case that the economy is the hottest it's been in a long time.
Right.
January jobs report beat expectations, CPI report beat expectation, real wages are up. What would you tell Americans who are worried that this decision will kind of throw the economy that you have projected going in the right direction at a very rapid pace off track?
Well, thank you for the question. And I will say this, we really are at a very important point. I've been waiting for this decision so long. They could have made this decision a long time ago. Not complex. They're wrong on it. It's a ridiculous decision, but they should have released this a long time ago. We waited months, and that gave uncertainty. Now we have certainty. And I think you're going to see the country get much stronger because of it. Mm-hmm. Look, we were ripped off by almost every country in the world. If you look at the surpluses, almost every country in the world that did business with us, our people were stupid. And I blame presidents for it because they're ultimately the leader. We were being ripped off by almost every single country in the world.
All right, man. I'm doing a special tonight. So let's go ahead and debate the tariffs. I'm going to go ahead and post the call-in link, or the StreamYard link in the post tab. So go ahead and look out for that one. For anybody who disagrees or you agree, I'll go ahead and let you guys come up. We'll have a 5-minute little session, 5 to 10 minute debate. So, and we can talk about this because I want to see if you guys are as confident as you are in the, in the chat. Because I know, hey, a lot of people like to talk in the chat, but when you come up here and actually have to, expound or explain your point or elucidate your point, y'all kind of fall apart in your arguments, and we show how much ignorance you have on the matter or the subject. So please come on up. I'm a nice guy. I'll go easy on you.
Had some massive surpluses. China had hundreds of billions of dollars in surpluses with the United States. They rebuilt China. They rebuilt the army. We built China's army by allowing that to happen. I have a great relationship with President Xi, but he respects our country now. Now, what we've done, I charged China a 20% tariff as a penalty for sending fentanyl in. And that was 20 times more than they could make by selling fentanyl. And I said, at some point you're going to say and they have reduced it. Fentanyl is down by more than 30% coming into our country. Part of that is our strong border. We have a strong border now. But thank you. Thank you for your question.
Mr. President, sir, you warned once in a social media post that if the Supreme Court did this, shot down your tariffs, the U.S. would be, quote, financially defenseless. Are we financially defenseless right now?
No, because we're doing something in a different way. We're doing something in a very powerful way. And we're using things that some people thought we should have used in the first place. But it's more complicated. It's a little more complicated. The process takes a little more time. But the end result is good.
Yeah, what he's talking about is the Section 301 tariffs that would pretty much he'd be able to invoke tariffs if he can find a strong case for unfair foreign trade tactics. So, and this investigation will be lumped up to the, Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, and he would come back with that. And this is going to take some time for investigation. So they can't implement it now. That's why they went ahead with the Section 122 with the 10% global tariff. But through Section 301, I'm gonna be real with you. He'll be as long as they build a good enough investigation, he'll be able to invoke those tariffs right back again, guys. Right back again. All right. But yo, lunatic libertarian, bro, how's it going, my brother?
Oh, it's another day in paradise. How are you, Set?
Man, that's all good. Waking up to all the BS news. You know what? I thought they had us on the first headline of it. I was like, struck down as tariffs. And then when I read into it, I was like, this is a nothing burger. They didn't really do anything to this man.
Yeah, it goes into the sensationalized era of media outlets due to their revenue streams, right? So what controls them is their revenue stream. And obviously with the first administration with Trump and the fake news and everything that happened with COVID, and then Biden and everything that happened through that administration to where we are now, it's just become absolute theater, in my opinion. We're literally watching like entertainment television. This is a soap opera.
At this point, bro, because I'm just like I'm reading into this and I'm just like, bro, this was a complete waste of their time to just go after his Emergency Powers Act tariff. If y'all, I thought the argument was his tariffs in general, but then when I really start reading into it, I'm like, oh no, this is dumb. He can always switch over to other means. So,
Well, yeah, and tariffs, yes, they're a tax upon the people, but we have to understand that we have been flabbergasted with this economy that's just been nonsense. Even when you
wait,
go
hold
back
on, hold on.
to get
So you're also of the mind that tariffs is a tax on the people?
well, well, tariffs are a tax, but what I'm going to go into is that our monetary system has been just jacked ever since the institution of the Federal Reserve. So it's going back to the source of the problem and then seeing the evolution of the problem creating our situation right now. So yet again, if we had strong manufacturing in the United States, if we didn't abandon our systems that were actual plentiful and kept our economy good back from the 1900, from the war era, that we actually can be productive citizens and we can be a productive society, to where we are now, to where no one has a purpose anymore. I mean, literally, crime is and entertainment are the two main revenue streams of this country. You got drugs, and whether they be legal or illegal, and then you got entertainment. There's not really that much production being done in the United States anymore.
And that's true. But that's the thing. That's what tariffs was honestly fixing. It was getting these guys to go in a different direction instead of just completely selling out the foreign interests. And that was being proven across sectors in pharmaceuticals, chip manufacturing. So we can't sit there and say that these tariffs was a failure or it was just Trump, a money grab for Trump, because Lord knows it wasn't that. And we can't even say it was a tax on the American people. It was a direct expense or an extra expense put on these corporate elites that they wanted off them. They were willing to bitch to the courts about it.
Well, and if you look at bringing anything back to this country, right? So it's become more self-reliant, which I talk about all the time as far as on an individual basis. But on a country basis, when you're more self-reliant, the globalist agenda becomes non-existent anymore. Global economics becomes where we're not sending our crap to India so that the common man in India can suffer. We're going to have to take responsibility for that ourselves.
If I can interrupt
right?
you real quick, you're touching on a real important point, because you're touching on free trade and what was it originally supposed to be established upon. If we can't make it here, then okay, we can try to get it overseas or somewhere else. But if we can make it here, we would only be shooting ourselves in the foot to not do it here and try to have somebody do it for us. And that's what free trade was supposed to be about.
Right, and then if you take the liberal standpoint of being a clean world, saving the planet, then we're not going to ship the responsibility over to a country that has less regulation, right? We're going to find a better way to take care of it so that it's not toxic to our planet, right? We're going to evolve into another system to where we're not going to be reliant on the things that kill our planet, right? And that's more of a liberal point of view. But you have to get off the global agenda.
Man, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Like, I thought that, I'll give it to you. I see where you're coming to now, because you're pretty much saying that the liberals are still of that global agenda to the point where they're even willing to defend corporate elites over it.
And that's why we don't have a two-party system. We just have this people saying that they're of a different color, but they all do the same crap.
That is true. I mean, let's be real. One of their main arguments, it's a nonsensical argument for, it's a straight tax on the consumer. So I don't even engage that. But when they do say, we're messing with our foreign partners, ruining relations and all that good stuff, now I'm starting to see where your argument hits home, because you're like, they're still aligned with the globalist agenda, and we should just all be part of the world instead of relying on ourselves.
Well, but we'll send our nasty shit to another country so that we don't have to deal with it, right? The toxins and everything else. We'll do harm to other poor populations just so that we don't have to deal with it, right? That's not taking accountability. So we'll ship all our chips and everything and all our computer trash to India, and then you'll see some guy that gets paid I don't know how many rupees per day to inhale toxic fumes to extract the precious metals out of those circuit boards, right?
Sure.
Or it's like, or the manufacturing of iPhones by children in China, or Jordans, or you know what I mean?
I get
It's
what
like,
you're saying. It's like, here's the thing though, and I don't think the Dems really get this. Like, they're supporting the very things that they say they're against. Like, you would be outraged if we had made Americans work like that, but you're saying that, oh well, for cheaper phones, it's okay if we make the Indians or the Chinese people work like that. Hey, a cheap iPhone. But what the hell? I
yes.
mean, I'm be real with you. I'd rather pay more for an iPhone than allow like what a bunch of Indians and Chinese people to work in unsafe conditions, and I'm just supposed to be okay with that because I get a cheap iPhone that ain't even cheap, by the way.
Well, it's the same thing. Like, what's happening. I believe it's in Burkina Faso where they took over their gold mines and their diamond mines and told the French
Facts.
to go pound sand. So it's like, for their for people to be free individuals, right? To have liberties and to be free, you don't have to have oppression. We can have global cooperation, yes. If you want to have global trade, yes. Let's not isolate it to these oligarchs, right? To these elites. Start taking, being a libertarian, I take the position of understanding what the labor and the value of production is. I look at the environment, and everything else. I don't take a position of, oh well, I'm going to grandstand because, and then be a hypocrite by saying I'm gonna backdoor everybody and then line my pockets as a politician, right? It's being principled. You can see politicians aren't principled.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that one. Like the way they try to sell it, I don't know. And this is why I always do say, ask questions of your politicians. I'm talking to the Democratic base and the Republican. Like, we need to start asking more critical questions of these guys, because the fact that they were able to sell you this, and like, every Dem was against, these guys getting tax cuts, these guys getting bailouts back in Bush. You guys against all that, them receiving billions of dollars to raise their prices. I mean, we're all against that, but here you guys are championing it. And I mean, let's be real. I don't honestly think these guys are going to get back their money from tariffs because, the Supreme Court hasn't really laid out a refund method, to be real with you. But if that was the case, this is what you guys would have been championing. Billions of dollars going back to corporate elites, which you guys have been against before. So it kind of shows the Trump derangement syndrome in the matter. It's like, oh, wow. So Trump attacks the corporate elites. You're for them. But I mean, if any other president did it, you guys would have been all for it.
Well, and it just goes into the fact it's not. We don't like Chris Rock said. We don't want you taking your drugs. We want you taking our drugs, right?
Yep.
It's when we tell it to you, it's okay. So the Democrats, what I break everything down to is that it just depends on which party wants the control over who has the use of force in this country, because it doesn't. Nothing changes. If anything, no matter who's in power, Democrats or Republicans, things still go the same way as to where it's going to be the elite class and just the poor again. It's going to be like a monarchy where you have a kingdom and everybody just works for nothing. And you'll get the crumbs and all that. We'll give you the 3D printed meat, and you'll eat the bugs, and we'll actually be able to eat true beef and organic material that is produced naturally without pesticides and chemicals. We have our own private doctors. We don't have to worry about the schedules or any of this other stuff. We don't go through the court system. We understand that we can settle out of court with the Secretary of State. And people don't understand that there absolutely is a different class system. I mean, why are none of these politicians going to prison? Why? Oh, well, they just get off and they ride off into the sunset. I'm sorry, there is no
Now, I'll be real
accountability
with you. Now,
anymore.
you're making a good point. Politicians and businessmen get away with a lot of shady stuff. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, okay, with the Epstein files and how a lot of these politicians are implicated, both on the left and the right. Like Zorro Ranch, the entire Democratic Party of New Mexico needs to be investigated for that. Like, let's be honest. Now, what was going on with Epstein in Florida? Bro, all of them need to invest, and those are mostly Republicans. They all need to be investigated for that mishap. So you're right, it is a slip up on both sides. And then, of course, the unaccountability of the corporate elites. I mean, well, that we allow them, because think about it, they hire illegal immigrants, and we come in there, we take them out, but nobody goes to jail. Like,
well, and
last time I checked, that was a felony.
Well, so check this out. When we can see, oh, there's an opioid crisis. That's linked directly to one company, one family. Oh, well, they got fined for billions and billions of dollars. Yeah, but then they created the company that sold the antidote for the product that they created, and they became billionaires right again. Like, get the fuck out of here. And I apologize, but it's like, let's look at it for what it is. Let's look at the reality. There are no consequences for these people. You can take the housing bubble. You can take all these people that take advantage of these systems and just like, well, screw everybody else, because as long as I'm lining my pockets, I'm good. No accountability. It's just insane. But yet again, if you're just a person walking across the street the wrong way, a police officer can arrest you, detain you, put you in handcuffs, and send you to jail. Fine you. Oh, well, you missed your child support payment. Sorry, but we're going to take you to jail, and you're going to not have a job, and you're not going to be able to pay for your child anyway. And then you're going to owe the state this money and not your child, and you're going to lose time. And these systems are absolutely insane. And that's why I say they are all failed, and we still operate with them without question. And then we hate ourselves and we hate our fellow man because we have to operate within these systems. And I'll kill you for money that was created out of thin fucking air. Your life means nothing because I have to operate within these systems. It creates the madness that we live in life. And I'm tired of looking at it. And that's why I've been promoting, not just on your channel, but all over the place. All centralized systems are failed, no matter who's talking politics, because we really need to start getting down to the nitty gritty of this as a population. Like, these aren't leaders. They're not elected officials to lead us. They're supposed to represent us and serve us.
All right, then. Man, shout out to my man, Lunatic Libertarian. All right, but we're going to be getting on with the rest of the show because, well, 10-minute segment. And hey, I basically felt like I just interviewed you. Shout out to my man.
And I thank you again for having me on your platform, Seth.
Hey, man, no problem. You can stick around. I'll probably bring you up for Tucker Carlson reaction because that one is crazy.
To get us more money, and I think it's going to be great. Yeah, Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. So,
make sure to follow Lunatic Libertarian, man. He has his own YouTube channel and all that good stuff. So make sure to go over there and check him out if you like what he was saying.
since Liberation Day, there's about $175 billion in tariff revenue that is now in limbo. Do you have to refund $175 billion?
Think of it, Peter. Very fair question. They take months and months to write an opinion.
I'm weak.
And they don't even discuss that point.
Literally.
We've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars, not millions, hundreds of billions of dollars. And so I said, well, what happens to all the money that we took in? It wasn't discussed. Wouldn't you think they would have put one sentence in there saying that keep the money or don't keep the money, right? I guess it has to get litigated for the next 2 years. So they write this terrible, defective decision, totally defective. It's almost like not written by smart people. And what they do, they don't even talk about that. Your question is very basic. That was the first question I asked also to make you feel good. They said, what about all the money that we've taken in? Sir, they don't discuss that. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
What you're saying is, are you saying that you don't plan?
I know. And that's the funny thing is they don't discuss a way to get for, well, these companies to get a refund. Never was discussed, even though the Dems said that Trump will have to pay back billions of dollars. I mean, like, trust me, Supreme Court didn't even lay that out. So we don't even know. We don't know. Maybe they might lay it out in the future and how they want that to be done. But all we know is that they just said no to the Economic Emergency Power Act tariffs. That's all they said no to. That's all. Let's remember that.
And to honor refunds for companies that file for them?
I just told you the answer, right? I told you the answer. It's not discussed. We'll end up being in court for the next 5 years.
AKA, he ain't giving it back without a fight.
Go ahead, Green.
Thank you, Mr. President. When you are talking about the relationship with countries that you have sought trade deals with, do you anticipate that they will seek to renegotiate those What do you say to them? And do you view this as a potential undermining power for your
Well, we're going
negotiation?
straight ahead with 10% straight across the board, which was the absolute right to do. And that's taking place. It's a lot of money coming into our country. And then during that period of about 5 months, we are doing the various investigations necessary to put fair tariffs or tariffs, period, on other countries.
And I knew it. All right, that's a strategy. So pretty much he invoked section 122 tariffs. And this was a 10% global tariffs that he can only allow for 150 days or so. While he does that, he's going to do the investigation required to invoke tariffs under the 301 Act, or Section 301 of the Trade Act, which he can only invoke if there is an investigation done to find out there's unfair foreign trade tactics being used. And then he can go ahead and then put back those tariffs, of course, with proper investigation. So pretty much the 10% global tariffs is just an extension to allow them to do the investigation to pretty much invoke the tariffs that they originally had. And we'll see how that works out for them. As he said, there'll be more solidified tariffs. Well, legally solidified.
So we're doing that period, but we're immediately instituting the 10% provision, which we're allowed to do. And in the end, I think we'll take in more money than we've taken in before.
Mr. President, you've used the tariff revenue to pay for a host of federal policies. You claim that they will pay for them. What happens?
Well, like the farmers, we took care of farmers. You know, the farmers were mistreated by foreign countries very badly, very, very badly. And last week, I gave them $12 billion out of tariff money. We intend to, out of tariff money, because just so you understand, we have tariffs. We just have them in a different way. And now they've been confirmed by the Supreme Court of the United States. So there's no longer that question out there about tariffs. And we'll be taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. And countries that have treated us badly will have to pay a price for treating us badly. And countries that have been good to us will be treated very well. We just left the top person in a place called Vietnam, just left my office. Great gentleman, strong and smart. He said, you know, I think this means you're allowed to charge us more tariffs than before. And Canada said to Jameson, I might want to say it, Jameson, but Canada said, I hope you win this decision, because if you don't win, you'll actually be allowed to charge us with a little additional work, higher tariffs. Jameson, you want to comment on that?
Yes, sir. So to the president's point, we have a lot of tools out there. We have Section 122, which will be implemented today. It will be signed today and implemented very shortly. We have Section 301 investigations, which are incredibly legally durable, where we can investigate and address unfair trading practices that have led to our huge trade deficit. And so you can look forward in the coming days and weeks to seeing all of that come out, and we're going to keep continuity in the program. We're going to keep addressing this so that the deficit can keep going down. That's the trend it has, and we can make America great again.
No.
Several of Republicans in Congress have supported this decision by the Supreme Court. And Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, has called you a wannabe king. Why wouldn't but why wouldn't
he doesn't even know?
But here's the thing, bro, Hakeem Jeffries, of course. And here's, like I said, I already know the propaganda. They're gonna sit here and try to say, oh, Trump's being a dictator, he's invoking tariffs anyway, even though the Supreme Court struck him down. No, they didn't. They didn't take away Trump's, they didn't take away Trump's power to tariff. He can still tariff under the Trade Act. They just took away his, well, I'm gonna be real with you, his, I guess, presidential powers, or his presidential right to invoke tariffs through the Economic Emergency Powers Act. That's it. That's all. All of his other powers are left, well, as I guess the Dems would say, unchecked.
And I watched him the other day interview. The guy didn't even know what a tariff is.
But there's been bipartisan criticism.
No, not bipartisan.
Of the tariffs.
Excuse me.
There's several Republicans have said that.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you just work with Congress to come up with a plan?
I don't have to
push tariffs.
I have
through?
the right to do tariffs, and I've always had the right to do tariffs, and it's all been approved by Congress. So there's no reason to do it. All we're doing is we're going through a little bit more complicated process, not complicated very much, but a little more complicated than what we had. We'll be able to take in tariffs, more tariffs. and the Congress
The House
people
just
and the
voted down
Congress.
the Canadian tariffs last week.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
been
but
votes
you
in the
know why?
Senate against it.
Yeah, because we lost 2 Republicans or 3 Republicans because they're not good Republicans. What you don't say, you don't say that we got 215 votes.
You need 218 for something to pass.
Yeah, sure we do. We might have lost 3 votes, and what was the score on the Republican side? 215 to 3, right? But you don't say that. We have great unity. There's great unity in the Republican Party, and I hope everyone's going to vote Republican, because otherwise you won't have a country left, because these people have been destroying. They are destroying our country. Please.
Mr. President, the 122 tariffs, that 10%,
Yeah.
is that going to be for 150 days, or
Yep.
do you want to charge that indefinitely?
Like I told you, the short term is going to be the Section 122, which is the 10% global tariffs. That's going to allow him 150 days to build a case for, well, invoking tariffs through Section 301 and 232, which, like I said, requires investigation to build a more durable case for these tariffs.
Have a right to do pretty much what we want to do, but we're going to charge it starting effectively. I think it's 3 days from now. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you speak to a lot of factory workers, a lot of manufacturing workers. What does the Supreme Court ruling say? What's that message to those factory workers?
Well, I think the factory workers are happy because we're now telling them that they're going to look. The man I met with yesterday who owned a factory was out of business. He was out of business. And now he's employing 5 times. In fact, I walked in, he's got a brand new crane. I said, how old is that crane? We got it in December. He's allowed to write it off in 1 minute. The great big beautiful act gave no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. He said this great big beautiful bill, frankly, has been the best thing that's ever happened for the workers much more so than for rich people. The only thing it does for rich people, it allows them to hire a lot more people. But when I saw him, and then he said, it's all up and down the line. This is a place in Georgia, all up and down, other factories doing different, not only steel products, different. He said, every one of us was out of business. We could barely make it. Some of them were down to less than an hour a week. Think of it, 1 hour a week to make just a few little trinkets or whatever they make. Now they're going round the clock. I had it a month ago. I went to Michigan, went to Ford, and I met with Bill Ford, the head of Ford, and we were in one of the biggest plants, an original plant from the early 1900s, where, by the way, I might add this, it's not really relevant, but it's all relevant. Murders are down the lowest since 1900, around the time that he had this plant. That's 125 years. We have the lowest murder rate. Okay. And our crime is way down in the country.
Man, can't be mad about that.
The factories that we're talking about, the people that we're talking about, they are so thrilled with Trump. So whether we charge IEEPA tariffs or whether we charge tariffs under a different section, that's what we're going to be doing. There's no way we can this is what happened to our country. This is why we owe $38 trillion, which we'll get rid of in pretty good course. We have a very incompetent Fed chairman who likes high interest rates. For political reasons, he likes them. But we're going to have somebody very good. Interest rates should come down very substantially. I think we should pay the lowest interest rates on the planet. There should be no country.
And cut our spending by at least 40 to 60% if we want to have any hope of really balancing the budget. I'll be real with you. But trust me, that's not a very I'll be real with you, it's not a very politically correct idea. And I know what you're saying, like I said, we're trying to balance the budget here. Yeah, but come on now. Try explaining to people how you're going to have to cut Social Security by 40%, Medicaid, Medicare by 40%, military spending 60% preferably. But a lot of people are going to be against that. Surprise, surprise.
We don't do that. We're number 38. This is just bad policy for a long period of time. But what's happened is we've made America strong again. We've made America great again. We should pay. As an example, the country of Switzerland, we were getting almost no tariffs from them. We had a $40 billion deficit. And the prime minister called me up. She said, but we are a small country, because I said we're going to raise it to 39% from nothing. That would have rendered them not very successful, as opposed to right now, they're considered elite. But if we put a tariff, and I realized then, she said, But sure, we are a small country. I said you're a small country with a big deficit. For us, you're making a lot of money off the United States. If we do that, a lot of these elite countries, they're elite because we let them make so much money. And I want them to do well, but I don't want them to do well on the backs of the American taxpayer. So I appreciate your question.
Yep.
I think it's
let's go. I mean, I'll feel him on that one. I'll feel him. You know what? I think my man Lunatic Libertarian could also agree with me. Like, bro, what do you feel about that spew right there? And of course, which you're also posting in the private chat.
Yeah, I don't think people quite understand that tariffs are what created our country and secured the the individual away from taxes, right? I mean, and was allowing our individual freedoms to thrive, and industry to be created, and there wasn't all this legislation and restriction on prosperity because people don't innovate anymore. They just rely on the old systems, and that's why we're all stuck in a rut. Now, if we take control, right, take the reins away from global trade and these oligarchs, oh, well, maybe we'll have some self-reliance again. Maybe we can start building new industries.
Bro, in my honest opinion, we'd probably jump like tenfold in technological advancement, because a lot of reason why we don't have that technological advancement in a lot of industries is because it would decimate the profitability of others, or the oligarchs.
Right. So they can no longer control these systems. And just like they're not going to go to the government and say, hey, bail me out, give me the taxpayer monies because I don't know what the hell I'm doing to run my business. And we got backdoor deals that said, hey, I supported your campaign, so now I want that reciprocity back to me because I paid for your campaign. All that shit goes out the window. Yeah. And a lot of corruption can be gone from our systems if we actually start really instituting the way that our country ran 100 years ago. And I think, and then it gets rid of the horrible things that happen to other people in other countries that we don't see firsthand unless it's on a commercial saying, hey, can you donate $10.99 a month?
Okay, I hear you on that one. But like, look, I think one of the best points out right now is one, we were relying on tariffs way before the income tax. And it kind of seems like people are trying to have this doomsday perspective about tariffs as if it hasn't helped us before. I mean, here's the main thing about it. This was meant to take back the reels, or honestly, to reverse a terrible decision. We made a decision that, we think it's okay to let these corporate guys ship our jobs overseas for cheaper products. That was a bad decision. And we got to correct that, because if we kept going there, if we kept letting that prosper, I'm gonna be honest with you, we're going to walk ourselves off an economic cliff. And it was going to be China and India that were going to replace us as the economic superpower. And that was going to be the fact of the matter.
Well, and if you really look at where Britain took a lot of their wealth from was India. You know what I mean? There was so much gold in that area, and there was so much, and yet again, you have people taking advantage of another culture and then decimating the population. And now you look at the state of India, it's kind of crazy. It's absolutely fucking wild.
Man, and I also do want to get this opinion off to you as well. So, because like I said, the Dems are complaining about this because it says a tax on the consumer. Of course, I disagree. But then what tax can we put on the corporate elite? So you guys just going to complain that it's going to get passed down to you? Because think about it like this. We could have raised the corporate tax, and all they got to do is pay their guys at CNN to tell you that that's a tax on the consumers. So don't raise the corporate tax. Don't invoke. I mean, think about like how far this can go. If they can get you to pretty much go against them being held accountable for shipping their jobs overseas, imagine what else they can be convinced of at this point.
Okay, what I think Trump is doing as a nationalist, right, is he's playing the long game to really institute old world thinking from the earlier parts of the origins of our country, right? So if you look at getting rid of the profiteers, that say, oh, well, the government can bail me out. Well, the government, he understands that the government gets its money from the people through the labor. And he understands that, well, if we have no means of production, then we have problems with crime. We have problems with people not having a purpose. And if you have regulation, then you can have no industry revolutions for, because they sell us solar, which is horrible. They sell us wind, which is horrible. Nuclear is probably the best way to go for energy sources. But you can't have innovation in industry when you have all these restrictions. So yet again, if you can create new industries in this country, well, you can have economic prosperity. And then if you're tariffing instead of taxing the people through trade, then you can't have these backdoor deals because you're going to be held to account of, okay, well, your product is doing this, this, and this. Well, okay, well, if it's harmful to the environment, well, we're going to tariff you for that production, or we're just going to, instead of regulating you, we're just going to tax you, right? Because that it creates the idea that you have to be responsible for what you create. You have to be accountable.
Here's the thing. I do believe that if the American people are going to be your biggest, like, I'm gonna be real with you, like your biggest profit margin, like where you get all your profits from, I believe that you should be working in our best interest as well, because we work in your best interest. Like, we're the reason why a lot of these companies stay afloat is because of our consumerism. So it hasn't been insulting to the American people when they just go out there and ship their jobs overseas and not giving no value to us when their whole value is created off us. So that, and I just don't like how, honestly, that's being promoted through some Republicans and those on the left, how this whole free trade is the best thing that ever happens for us, and how, oh, well, we shouldn't want to tariff our partners for unfair trade tactics because it's going to make them feel some type of way. It's like, what about us? I guess it's just F us then. But I mean, look, and I'll be real with you, not a lot of Dems have an answer for that when I give it to them. Like, all right, well, you're saying we should just sell out to the corporate elites. And then here's the thing. If you don't believe in that, then what's your plan to bring back these jobs? They don't got one.
Right. And I don't know what we're supposed to do because, right, if you look at global trade and what it's done as far as even an environmental impact on the planet, right? It's like we ship tires over to the desert and they just burn. But as long as we don't see it, we don't see it. The plastics that have desecrated the oceans. Well, as long as we don't see it, we don't see it. People have been, and this is what when I talk about it, people will always want convenience. It's like if you use glass and reusable products, then you don't have this problem. But yet again, we've canceled out that industry in our country because of convenience and economics, as far as what we've been told as far as our consumption, right? Well, we got to keep buying cars, we got to keep buying this, we got to keep buying that. Well, eventually we're going to run out of resources, right? Eventually we're going to run out of this, we're going to run out of that. It's unsustainable the way that we have it right now. I think that this is going to move us in the right direction as far as to true sustainability, instead of what we have now, as far as, well, we can consume until we're blue in the face, but we hate the products because they don't last, right? I can go buy a refrigerator that was made in the 1950s. It meets the criteria for efficiency, and it'll last. It's already lasted almost 100 years, and it'll last another 100 years. That's what I mean. We don't have to have this consumerism economics. But if you make stuff that lasts, right, then you're not reliant on money. Then you can create other things that create purpose for people instead of just money.
I mean, I give you that one. That's a great point. All right, man. Shout out to my man, Lunatic Libertarian, bro. All right, I'm gonna put you back in the background, bring you up later. Oh, man, shout out.
President Trump, you said that you were disappointed with that, but were you surprised with this decision? What you felt when you?
I was surprised because I thought that what we did was, number one, according to, I mean, I read the paragraphs. I read very well. Great comprehension. I read everything there is to read, and I said, we can't lose this case. But we can when judges are political, when they want to be politically correct, when they're catering to a group of people in D.C. Maybe I don't know what it is, because when you read it, there's no other interpretation. There is no other interpretation. But it's okay.
No, I'm just be real with you. Like, bro, there was the corporate elites who were on Trump's side because they were getting their ass kicked by foreign producers. And then there's the corporate elites who weren't on Trump's side. Well, because you're kind of effing with the foreign producers, and this is how we make our money. And I mean, there's like a lot of businesses that honestly rely on foreign production. And when Trump is getting in the way of that, that kind of messes with their profit margin or in their overhead costs. Now, could that cost get transferred down to the consumer? Well, depending on the industry. If they're in a highly saturated market where they have a whole lot of competition, they have no room to raise their prices, which is why a lot of them are just going to have to take it to the chin on their profit margin or overhead costs. And that could hurt them. I'm not saying that this cannot hurt business. Trust me, it can. But to sit there and just say it goes directly to the consumer, wrong. But I do see where there's two sides on this whole debate on tariffs. There's the side that wins from it because they're no longer getting crushed by foreign producers. And there's the side that relies on foreign producers, so they're getting crushed by it. There's two arguments here, two sides to look from.
Okay, because what has come out, and I'll say it for the third time and maybe the last time in a while, is that we've taken the uncertainty of tariffs out because we had uncertainty. We got sued by sleazebags, I know them well, that are very outside country, China-centric, but outside country-centric. And they're going to end up not doing as well as they did before. America was becoming really, really, we're strong again. Hey, we have the strongest military. I rebuilt the military in the first term. We have the most powerful military. We make the best equipment. And even them, we could do much better. We have people that get paid a lot of money to manufacture Patriot missiles and javelins and all the different things. But when you want them, they're too slow. And we put them on notice, and they're going to our country is building a lot of things right now, and our country is doing really well. And we're going to keep it that way. The bottom line is that the word certainty is now in the equation. Every single thing I said today is guaranteed certainty. It's been tested, as Jameson said 1,000 times. Literally, I said hundreds of times. He said, sir, actually thousands of times, and won in all of the courts. And we're just going back to that. And the problem is that we had other presidents that weren't into trade. Maybe they weren't business oriented. Maybe they weren't smart. We had some dummies too, I respectfully say we had some real dummies. So we are going to keep it going just as before, probably more so. But you're no longer going to be asked. Every time I got up, you'd ask, well, what happens if you can't charge tariffs? Now we can. And by the way, in their decision, they specifically said we can do these. We have alternatives. Yeah.
David, on the trade deals that were negotiated using IEEPA tariffs, do those stand now, or are they have to be redone?
Some of them stand. Many of them stand. Some of them won't, and they'll be replaced with the other tariffs.
Mr. President, on the Supreme Court justices who ruled against this the policy, striking it down, are they still invited to your State of the Union next week? And will you speak with them?
They are invited, barely. Barely. 3 or half.
1 week is so when they get to the door, the guy gonna look at them like, all right, man, get in here, man. Like that bullshit. You made a bullshit ruling, but man, get in here.
Happily invited. No, they're barely invited. Honestly, I couldn't care less if they come. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the trade deal, which is the framework, which is to be signed with India sometime soon, will that stand now? And on the decision, nothing changes.
No, nothing changes. They'll be paying tariffs, and we will not be paying tariffs. Our deal with India is they pay tariffs. This is a reversal from what it used to be, as you know. India, and I think Prime Minister Modi is a great gentleman, a great man, actually, but he was much smarter than the people that he was against in terms of the United States. He was ripping us off in India. So we made a deal with India, and it's a fair deal now. And we are not paying tariffs to them, and they are paying tariffs. We did a little flip.
Are up as of now for this.
No, the India deal is on here.
So much, Mr. President.
All the deals are on it. We're just going to do it a different way.
Mr. President. Thank you so much, Mr. President. I think there's another war that you stopped and you should take a credit, which is in Syria. Secretary Rubio, after his meeting in Munich with the Syrian Foreign Minister and the Kurdish General Muslim Abdi, he said that President Trump was directly involved in efforts to stop the fighting between the Kurds and the Syrians. How will your administration will make sure that this peace is sustained? And do you support the idea?
Well, it's a very different topic, and so I don't want to spend a lot of time. But all I can say is that the president of Syria, who I essentially put there, is doing a phenomenal job. He's a rough guy. He's not a choir boy. A choir boy couldn't do it. But Syria is coming together, really coming together well. And thus far, he's...
Oh, God, do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people on our conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support.
Been very good to the Kurds. Yeah.
Sir, thank you. Mr. President, what's your message to the Iranian people after 2 rounds of talks with them? Do you have any message to the Iranian people?
The Iranian people in Iran or people here?
People in Iran.
They better negotiate a fair deal. They better negotiate. You know, the people of Iran are a lot different than the leaders of Iran. And it's very, very sad situation. But 32,000 people were killed over a relatively short period of time. They were going to hang 800, 2 weeks ago, hang, some by crane. They lift them up with a tall crane and they play them around the square. They were going to hang 837 people. And I gave them the word, if you hang one person, even one person, that you're going to be hit right
now. If you're wondering, like I was, like, why does Trump care about, Iranians taking out their own? Well, think about it like this. Remember, Iran also reported that there was Mossad and CIA agents pretty much, I guess, stoking the fires of these protests. Pretty much they were the ones involved with it and handing out weapons to protesters. And this is why things got ugly. Now, some of these guys were captured. I mean, Iran has said so. Now, could it be that Trump is saying, look, if you execute any one of these CIA guys or Mossad guys, there's going to be a problem because at that point you would be executing an American citizen. Maybe that might be it, but it is a little strange that we'd want to go to war with them or get involved over them executing their own people. Like, I know it sounds fucked up, like what's said, the protesters and all that. Yeah, but don't mean that we bomb Iran for executing their own people.
Then and there, I wasn't waiting 2 weeks and negotiating, and they gave up the hanging. They didn't hang 837. Supposedly, they didn't hang anybody.
No, they still carried out hangings. They hung this one guy, Ali, for pretty much, working with the Mossad. They said they found evidence on his phone that he was contacting a known Mossad agent, and he was hung. And that's pretty much the only guy that's been reported to be hung in Iran.
But no, I feel very badly for the people of Iran. They've lived in hell. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned multiple times foreign influence over the Supreme Court. Do you have evidence of that? And if not, will you investigate that?
You're going to find out.
What alternatives are you going to put into place in your relationship with Europe and also those tariffs that have been called illegal? How they're going to go impact the relationship with Russia, that you sanctions?
Well, I want Europe to strengthen up. Europe has gone woke. Europe is not recognizable when you go into so many places. Not all countries. You look at Hungary. You look at Poland, Czech, Slovakia. There are some countries that have gone very much the opposite. Some really, and some others. But Europe has to be strong, and they become soft and not recognizable. You go into some of the countries, I don't want to be specific, but I think everyone knows what I'm talking about. And they're not recognizable. They become, the environmentalists have taken over. They've got windmills destroying their fields and their beautiful meadows and their oceans, and they're paying a fortune. Now, Europe has to get smart. Europe's getting killed on two things, energy and immigration. And if they don't solve both of them fast, Europe is not the same place. Yeah, please.
Justices Gorsuch and Barrett, are you surprised in particular by their decision today? And do you regret nominating them?
I don't want to say whether or not I regret. I think their decision was terrible. Yeah. I think it's an embarrassment to their families.
I mean, look, you guys got to understand. There was people who, well, Ronald Reagan argued for free trade, and I disagree with Ronald Reagan on free trade. I don't honestly think he truly knew how bad it would get, to be quite honest with you. I mean, yes, we all know Ronald Reagan was a huge supporter of free trade, but I mean, let's be real here. It was a bad idea that ended up costing Americans. So, yeah, and there are still people who hold on to that ideology that, well, Ronald Reagan have held on to that, oh, free trade is the best thing for America, when it turned out to be the worst thing. I mean, come on now. We could sit there and, call out the BS of leaders of the past. Now, not everything Ronald Reagan said was right, but he did do a lot of good, though.
I want to know the truth, the two of them. Yeah.
Specifically on that $2,000 tariff check.
Mr. President,
I didn't call you.
You didn't call me?
Yeah, Mr. President, to be clear, do you believe at the end of implementing these new tariff tools, the tariff rate and tariffs will ultimately be higher than they currently are?
Potentially higher. It depends, whatever we want them to be. But we want them to be fair for other countries. And, we have some countries that have treated us really badly for years, and it's going to be high for them. And we have other countries that have been very good, and it's going to be very reasonable for them. Yeah.
Specifically on the tariffs question, I mean, on the $2,000.
I didn't call you.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. Do you have any plans to travel to India for the Quad Summit, and how do you think your relationship with India is right now?
I think my relationship with India is fantastic, and we're doing trade with India. India pulled out of Russia. India was getting its oil from Russia, right? And they pull way back at my request because we want to settle that horrible war where 25,000 people are dying every month. And my relationship with Prime Minister Modi is, I would say, great. I also stopped a war between India and Pakistan, as you know. There were 10 planes we shot down. That war was going and probably going nuclear. And just yesterday, the Prime Minister of Pakistan said President Trump saved 35 million lives by getting them to stop. That's and I did it largely with tariffs. I said, look, you're going to fight, that's fine, but you're not going to do business with the United States, and you're going to pay a 200% tariff each country. And they called up and they said, we have made peace. Okay. I just want to thank you all. Look, great certainty has been brought back to the economy of the United States, and actually the economy of the world, because we generate so much in the world. We're the biggest in the world, and we're now the strongest by far. We were a country that was dead 1.5 years ago. Now we have the hottest country in the world. We're going to keep it that way. Thank you very much, everybody.
And all right now. Well, that was the first, I would say, groundbreaking announcement. Now, let's get over to this very interesting interview that, shout out Tucker Carlson, okay? This man took the risk. He's been talking all this ish on Israel, and then the man pulled up to Israel. And, there was some very strange things that went down. But we're going to go ahead and skip his retelling of this very weird way that Israel had him meet Huckabee. And let's just get right into the interview, because a lot of things this man Huckabee said, yeah, it's going to cause a lot of outrage. But let's get right into it, guys. Let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video.
Thank you very much for having us, for inviting me. I was grateful to be invited.
Well, thank you.
I was grateful because I don't like all the name calling. I've engaged in some of it. I want to apologize for that. In general, I don't think people should be going immediately to motive, calling each other Nazis or anti-Semites. I said I hate the Christian Zionists. I lost control of myself. Of course I don't. I've apologized for that. I have problems with my anger, and so I just want to apologize to you, since you are a Christian Zionist.
Shout out.
You and I have known each other for over 30 years.
Over 30 years. That is totally true.
Back when you were in Little Rock. So
yes, the newspaper.
It's why I want to. Yeah, it's like we don't hate the Christian Zionists. It's just hard to understand where they're coming from, and the arguments here, because these arguments aren't really good ones. And then when you kind of hold them to scrutiny, you kind of get hit with the anti-Semite, or you're a Nazi. So that's a problem with the Christian Zionists or the evangelists. It's kind of hard to, get a real answer when it comes to their claims.
Just to have
why Israel deserves this holy land, deserves this land in the Middle East. Really hard to, pinpoint a real answer.
Conversation, talk to each other and not about each other. And I appreciate very much you're coming here to.
Of
have
course,
this
and I'm only
conversation.
staying a couple hours, unfortunately, because I kind of shoehorned this in, but I hope that I'll be back soon, and I hope that I can come back soon, because I actually like, despite what you may hear, I actually like the country. I've been here a lot, and there are a lot of things I love about it, and I want to talk to people in it for like a week.
Good.
And get a better sense of it. So I want to ask you, everyone I've talked to in preparation for this has said the same thing. Jonathan Pollard, I'm just going to throw the name to you and have you explain.
No, I'm glad you asked.
Of course.
Interestingly, there's been a lot of things about it. You're the first person who has asked me about it, which I find amazing. So I'm glad you did.
Really?
Yeah, the very first
Good.
person.
Well, it's better to hear it.
Very first person. I mean, bro, we always asking questions. You just ignored them. Be honest with you. We asked like, yo, why'd you meet up with that spy? I mean, you didn't really give an answer. I mean, trust me, people was asking Huckabee this for months. Well, weeks.
Sure. I met Jonathan Pollard 2 times. Once I was making a speech in Jerusalem. This has been a few years ago. His wife was still alive at the time.
Okay.
And he was there. And someone introduced me to him and his wife. I said hello to them. That was it. Hi. Nice to meet Esther, his wife. And that was it. I went and made my speech and I left. Later, his wife passed away here in Israel. And I sent him a note and just said, I'm sorry to hear about your wife. I remember meeting.
I mean, if you don't know who Jonathan Pollard is, let's see here. He's an American-born Israeli former intelligence analyst who was jailed for spying for Israel. So, interesting.
Her at the hotel, and sorry to hear it. He then asked, could he come and see me? He wanted to come and thank me for being kind to him. He came to the embassy. I think we met for maybe 30 minutes. We had a nice, pleasant visit. The funny thing was the New York Times reported that it was a secret meeting. Tucker, if you've ever been to the U.S. Embassy, you would know there's no such thing as a secret meeting at the U.S. Embassy.
Sure.
There are cameras everywhere. You walk through Marines, you walk through security, you walk through the front office, and there's a dozen or more people that are going to check you out when you come. And before you get there, you're going to have to give us your passport information. You're going to have to be vetted and screened and all of this stuff. So the idea that it was secret was ludicrous. The whole idea is, look, Jonathan Pollard did something that was terribly wrong. He sold secrets. He shouldn't have done it.
Okay.
He was sentenced to 30 years in prison and spent 30, actually was, I think he was sentenced to maybe more than 30 years, but he spent 30 years in prison. Most people convicted of something similar, which was one count, I believe, would have spent 2 to 4, but he spent 30. I don't have a problem with him spending 30 because I think what he did was despicable. I'm not defending anything about what he did. But even people like the former director of the CIA, a number of other senators on the Senate Foreign Relations of the Senate Intel Committee said that he should be allowed to leave and move to Israel if he wanted to.
Wow.
So
that's one of our main problems is that Israelis can pretty much do what they want. And if they get caught up, they can just ask to go back to Israel and we let them. I mean, that was a whole thing that blew up. What was it? I believe it was out of Utah. Somebody catch me up on that one because I'm not sure if I'm right about that. But there was an Israeli spy once again who got caught up, not once again, but who got caught up in trying to buy or trying to meet up with a minor. Yes, he got caught trying to meet up with a minor. When we try to hold the man accountable, he asked to be shipped to Israel. And we did it. This guy was pretty much going to meet with a minor. He had no real excuse for it. He knew he was guilty. And he just said, hey, take me to Israel because I'm intelligence pretty much. And we did it. That's the problem.
It was not as big a deal that I had this basically courtesy meeting. He wanted to thank me for being nice to him when his wife died. That's pretty much the story.
You advocated for his release when you ran for, I remember it, in 2011, long before he had served 30 years. And I agree with you that there are a lot of people languishing in prison, in our country and in this country, many countries, for longer periods than they deserve. And I think it's a Christian impulse to want to see them free. But this was the greatest traitor in modern American history who sold our battle plans against the Soviet Union, our main enemy in the Cold War, to the Israeli government, which according to our Reagan CIA director, Bill Casey, then gave them to the Soviet Union. So this was the most profound betrayal of the United States.
And you just met up with him. And I mean, this what makes it bad is because let's be real. I mean, it worked out for Israel, and it seems like the only reason why you ain't why you ain't saying that, oh, I didn't meet up with him because he was a traitor is because, well, he betrayed us for Israel. This what kind of makes you look weird, Huckabee. Like, I don't know. If he betrayed us for Iran, would you have met up with him? No. Betrayed us for any other country but Israel. Would you have met up with that man? Most likely not.
In my lifetime, why advocate for that guy's release before he serves his full sentence?
If that were the case in 2011, it would have been because I had a number of friends that suggested that he had more than served time, and he didn't want to live in the U.S. anymore. He wanted to live in Israel. And but my association with him, again, I had never met him until I met him in Jerusalem at a hotel. That was the first time I had ever encountered him.
I'm friends with 1 million bad people, or I've talked to 1 million bad people.
I'm sitting here with you. I mean, come on.
I mean, Jesus ain't with tax collectors. So trust me, do not judge people who are friends or know or enjoy the company of immoral people, because it's not an endorsement of their immoral behavior. Pollard is different. I think once you become U.S. ambassador, the representative of the president of the United States in the United States of America in a foreign country, and then you invite not only the most damaging betrayer in our lifetimes, but also a guy who continues to advocate for betrayal. So he gave an interview, as I know you know, in 2021 to Israeli media, in which he said, I would encourage Jewish Americans with security clearances to spy for Mossad against their own country, the United States, because, and I'm pretty much quoting him, all Jews should have dual loyalty.
Huh.
That's not repentance. That's not someone who feels bad about what he did. That's someone who's encouraging American Jews to betray their country.
Yeah, because he was rewarded for it. That's the problem. It's like, that's the problem with it. He may have been shamed by, his fellow Americans, but he was championed by Israel for what he did. And that's the problem with this whole dual loyalty thing. Like, they'll be okay with betraying their country as long as it's benefit of the other country. That's a problem. We can't have that, but apparently we allow it.
That's pretty heavy, don't you think?
Oh, I do. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I think, let's remember, it was President Trump who probably facilitated his departure. And I'm certainly supportive of President Trump. I think you are. And
Pollard's not. He called him a madman after your meeting.
That's why I say Pollard is not, for me, the real issue. It was the fact that he did something that was despicable. I'm not denying that. Of course he did. And he paid dearly for it, 30 years in prison, and he should have. That's what he should have done. There's no question about
But
that.
why meet with him in the U.S. Embassy? Your colleagues said they were shocked. They said...
Who were the colleagues that said they were shocked?
Quoted on background in the New York Times. I think the meeting was in August. This could all be fake. That's why I'm asking you.
Well, the same New York Times said it was a secret meeting. And I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a secret meeting in the U.S. Embassy.
Do you see why the U.S. ambassador hosting a convicted betrayer of his own country who's encouraging Americans to continue to betray their country would seem shocking?
Yeah.
Well, I would say that it wasn't that you make it sound like I'm hosting a meeting. I simply met with him. I meet with people all the time.
Some can just walk in without a...
No, they have to have an appointment. Of course they do.
Oh, so it is hosting him then, I think.
Well, I don't know if it was hosting, but it was certainly, he was able to come to the U.S. Embassy to have a meeting at his request. I did. And frankly, I don't regret it. I met with a lot of people over the course of the time I've been here, and we'll meet with a lot more.
Okay.
That's it.
So if you spend the evening at my...
You may not be satisfied with that answer, but he was sure satisfied with giving you that answer. I'll tell you that. I mean, Lord knows I wasn't satisfied with it, but it is what it is.
Prison in Israel, there have also been...
Guys, make sure you double tap that screen, like the video, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation by double tapping that screen. And if you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, I'll be happy to read it out loud. Just send $2 and up in a super chat or send a gift. Appreciate the support, guys.
And there continue to be dozens and dozens and dozens of accused sex offenders from the United States who fled to Israel, including one recently, an Israeli government official who was caught trying to molest a 15-year-old girl and fled to Israel and is not going back to the United States.
And that's the guy I was talking about. Yes, he was trying to meet up with a minor, and he was able to flee to the United States. Like, crazy.
One recently in Israel, offenders have been, and there continue to be, dozens and dozens and dozens of sex offenders, accused sex offenders from the United States who fled to Israel, including one recently, an Israeli government official who was caught trying to molest a 15-year-old girl and fled to Israel and is not going back to the United States to stand charges for attempted molestation of a child. Have you advocated for the Israeli government to return him to the United States?
I'm not familiar with that case. It has not come to us at the embassy. So I'm not aware. Is this the person in Nevada?
That is correct.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I thought it was Utah, but it was Nevada. Okay. So, yeah, that's where it was, in Nevada. Yeah, it was an Israeli contractor, spy, whatever you want to call him. But he was meeting up with a minor. When he got arrested, for some reason, he asked to go to Israel, and we let him. And here's the thing. It was the AG of Nevada that actually let him go, who we found out to also be, what was it? I think she's also an Israeli, too, an American-born Israeli or foreign-born. I'm trying to remember. Let me get the information for you.
Okay, I heard about
County, I would imagine so.
Yeah, I heard about it, but I heard about it through open source media. It was never something that was presented to us, but I would have no problem with him being extradited back to the U.S.
You're the president's and our country's representative in the state of Israel, so I think it would fall to you to advocate with your friend, the prime minister, to say, wait a second, we have a very close relationship. We're obviously the single largest source of outside funding for this country. How can you take an accused child molester and shield him from American justice, send him back to the United States? Have you ever had that conversation?
No, because the prime minister would not be the proper person.
That may be right.
Israel.
Pardon my ignorance. But
that would deal with an extradition. It would go through their court system. And so the prime minister is separate, very similar to what we have in the U.S., where there is a separation of powers. So it would go through something other than the prime minister.
Have you advocated to the courts, to judges, to anybody in the Israeli justice system?
There has never been a...
Okay, nah. So it happened to be like fake news that he was an Israeli national or anything like that, because, I mean, bro's black. Aaron Ford, Nevada Attorney General. He's the one who actually let the guy go, though. Yeah, he actually authorized and said, yep, it's okay to let this guy who's about to meet up with a minor go off back to, well, Israel. Let's see here. Even in his early life, I mean, I don't see nothing about him being Jewish or him ever aligning with anything Israeli involved. All we know is that he's a black guy named Aaron Ford.
Request for me to engage in that. I would be happy to do it. If the White House sent a message to me, I do work for the president. I serve at his pleasure. If anyone at the White House were to say to me, would you please go and make a case for it? But probably if that were to happen, it wouldn't come through the embassy as much as it would likely come from the Department of Justice at the U.S. in D.C. They would make the request. They might involve us, but they very likely would not.
Does it seem strange to you that people accused of child molestation in the United States are allowed to have refuge within the borders of our closest ally? How that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I would say that
if you've molested an American child, shouldn't you be required to stand justice?
It's an allegation. Let's be clear. One of the things about our system of jurisprudence, you're innocent until you're proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So if the charges are there, should he be extradited? I would say so.
The charges are there.
Yeah. Okay. So they should be, but that's a Justice Department decision, and they're the ones who should be pursuing it. To my knowledge, they haven't. They certainly haven't engaged the U.S. Embassy over.
Why would the Israeli government harbor fugitives from justice in the United States?
I'm not sure that
there are dozens and dozens and dozens. In fact, there's an Israeli group that keeps track of them that is dedicated, Jewish Israeli group dedicated to combating the molestation of children. And
yeah, I know. And, bro, shout out to that Israeli group, because, yeah, they sit there and they track these pedophiles who go out into America trying going out there to molest children, and then once they get caught, they actually get sent back to Israel, and they're allowed to, and they get sent back. And bro, not even the Israelis want these guys. They're like, yo, why you sending them back to us? Keep them there in jail. Like, but for some reason they get sent back to Israel, and we allow it.
Keeps a long list, and then you can look it up. And
Tucker, I hope you're not saying that you think the Israelis support the molestation of children.
Obviously, I'm not saying that.
Okay,
I'm saying that the Israeli government shields accused child molesters
I'm not sure
from justice in the United
I'm not
States.
sure I could say that that's something that is provable. I don't know. But I am not aware that the Israeli government is shielding people.
You obviously want to sleep well and fashionably. Brooklyn bedding can help. Here at TCN, we take sleep time seriously. Try to...
Well. Anyway, guys, make sure you guys double tap that screen and like the videos, guys. And if you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements you want read out loud, just make sure to super chat it in, guys. Appreciate the support. All right, man, let's keep it going.
Code Tucker.
Well, they are, and I'll give you and I just want to make sure that I pronounce this man's name correctly. It's Tom, I believe, Alexandrovich. I think that's right, and I've written it down, but of course my handwriting is so terrible I can't read it. But yes, he is an Israeli, I believe, cybersecurity official who was at a conference in Las Vegas last year and was caught up in a sting. Designed to catch people soliciting sex from children. He was
so a cybersecurity official from Israel was caught trying to solicit sex from children, and we let him go. Let him go right back to Israel. That's pretty much what happened.
one of a number of people arrested for this. He was arraigned and charged. And then 2 days later, he fled to Israel and did his first hearing by Zoom. He was allowed for some reason to leave for a foreign country, having already been charged for a attempted molestation of a child. And he remains here now. And there have been many news stories about this. And I just wonder if you would ask the Israeli government to put him on a plane and send him back to face justice for attempting to molest an American child. It doesn't seem complicated.
No, I wouldn't mind doing that, but I want to find out if the Justice Department of the U.S. has already sought to extradite him. Is there anything in process? I don't know.
Why wouldn't they seek to extradite him?
I have no idea. That's a question for the Justice Department.
I have many questions for the Justice Department, like why are millions of Epstein files still classified? Why do you think that is?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I want to know that too, because now there's supposed to be reported 6 million Epstein files, only 3 million was released, but I believe a couple of days ago, the disappointing news that there was disappointing news that came from the DOJ saying that they will no longer be releasing any more Epstein files. It's done, they're finished, and that is in contempt of Congress. Because, like I said, the Epstein Transparency Act called for the full release of the Epstein files, not halfway releasing it. You guys tell us when you feel like you're done. Like, that's not what it said. So I don't know what's going on with Pam Bondi, but she got to go ahead and get that together, or just get her ass up out of there already.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with that. I've never met the man. I don't know him.
You haven't kept up with the Epstein disclosure?
I mean, only from a distance. I'm 6,000 miles away from D.C. these days, and I'm pretty sure that there's so much going on.
The current president of Israel, who I know you know, President Herzog,
going very well,
apparently was at Pedo Island. That's what it says in the disclosures. And of course, we know that the former prime minister, Ehud Barak, was living on and off at Epstein's house. So still living high-level Israeli officials are directly implicated in Epstein's life, if not his crime. So I would think that you'd be following this.
Only I was not aware that there was any connection with President Herzog. I would be surprised to hear that. And I knew there was about the former prime minister, who apparently had a lot of dealings with Epstein.
Business dealings. And by the way, I'm not alleging anything, but I mean, it's in the Epstein files. And I don't know that I've heard the current president of Israel respond to it, but he is listed as a visitor to Pedo Island. So that's kind of a big deal. I wonder,
really,
considering there are so many suggestions in the files, as I'm sure you know, of sexual abuse, and given that Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted sex offender, I wonder why the administration you work for would be holding millions of files, which I believe belong to the public, hidden for, quote, national security reasons. What would those national security reasons be, do you think?
Honestly, I think you've probably got more access to the White House sometimes than I do. You should ask them.
Well, you're the government official representing that White House.
Yeah, like, bro, you serious? That was a wild question to hit him with. I mean, I'm sorry, a question, but that was a wild thing to hit him with. Well, sometimes I feel like you have more access than me. It's like, bro, you're the ambassador, bro. You're literally a representative of the White House. What are you talking about? Maybe you're just not reading into this. Maybe not. But all right, though. Shout out to my man Anonymous, member for 9 months. Hey, appreciate the support, my man. He says, member for 9 months, been watching for 14. Love what you do, Set. It's my daily news brief. Thanks. Oh, and I have 7 months clean and sober. Bro, 7 months clean and sober today. Then man, let's go. Woo, woo. Man, shout out to my guy, bro. Shout out to my guy Anonymous, man. He's been on his sober journey and he's been succeeding. Hey, bro, keep it up, man. We're proud of you over here on this side.
In Israel. And I represent the U.S. in Israel to the Israeli government from the U.S. government. But honestly, nobody has presented that to us.
Well, now
we have
that
a
you
pretty
know that
dynamic situation here. I don't know if you know that or not, but there's a lot going on in this part of the world. And frankly, that has not been top line item.
But you're surprised to hear that the current president of Israel, whom you know, is listed as a visitor to Pedo Island.
Had never heard that. Never heard it even in the Israeli press.
Are you going to ask him next time you see him?
I'll be happy to talk to him almost every week.
Really?
I guess what I'm asking is not simply as a representative of my government or a high U.S. official, but just as like a man and a father and a Christian.
Hold on now, bro. I'm confused. Is he saying about Bibi or Ehud Barak? We all know former prime minister former prime minister of Israel, Ehud Barak. Yeah, he had ties with Epstein, but are you talking about Bibi Netanyahu? Because I didn't see that.
That has not been top line item.
But you're surprised to hear that the current president of Israel, whom you know, is listed as a visitor to Pedo Island.
Had never heard that. Never heard it even in the Israeli press.
Are you going to ask him next time you see him?
I'll be happy to talk to him almost every week.
I guess what I'm asking is not simply as a representative of my government or a high U.S. official, but just as like a man and a father and a Christian. How could you resist saying, like, were you on Pedo Island with Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, if I'm not aware of it. And secondly, there are a lot of things that go on in the world. I don't question every single person about every single thing that may be alleged about
the country.
I understand all that, but this is the first I've ever heard of this. So why do you expect me to have knowledge of something like that?
Well, because you attacked me personally for suggesting that Jeffrey Epstein had ties to Mossad, and you said that.
You think he does?
What's very clear he does.
You think he does? From where do you get that?
Well, the fact that he was in contact repeatedly with members of the Israeli government, including the current president and the former prime minister.
Current president, former prime minister, Ehud Barak was he was working for the Defense Department of Israel. I'm sorry, but what do you mean? It's like he obviously had close ties to Israel. And I mean, and that's just being nice. Honestly, let's be real. He does have close ties to Mossad. But if we want to be fair, let's just say he has close ties to Israel, because I mean, then the Mossad's been trying to deny it left and right, and so is Israel. But you look at the Epstein files, and you obviously see that there's been some pretty close ties to Israel and Epstein, obviously. So you can't sit there and say that he wasn't connected to the Mossad. I mean, we're real with you. Ehud Barak was connected to the Mossad. But hey, it is what it is.
All kinds of Israeli intel connected people. I'm not saying he'd work for Mossad. I don't think.
Huh? What, something happened on my side? Oh, everything good on my side, guys? To make sure. All right.
We know that, but there's no question that he had extensive contact with CIA.
I think you.
Okay, something is going on my side. All right, just seen it. Well, look, I caught that just in time. See here, temporarily blocked. All right, guys. All right. All righty. But it didn't block here, though. That's crazy. All right, I'm just going to wait for it to come back, hopefully. Let's see here. Your stream has been temporarily blocked. Could we take the... Wow. I swear they pick and choose. They pick and choose. Let's see here. Let's see. Come to Rumble. Wait until that's fallen off. And all righty. Let's see here. Yeah. Yo, Lunatic.
Yo.
Don't tell me it's still off in the live. Oh, never mind. It just returned. All right, we're back on YouTube, guys. We're back on YouTube. For some reason, it didn't shut down on the horizontal window. That's strange. But all right. We're good for now. We're good for now. I mean, all right, let's try it again, I guess. We could try it again. If it does it again, I guess we're just going to have to go to Rumble, Twitch, X, Kick. You guys can follow me on there as well. I do want to finish out the interview. And if not, I mean, look, if YouTube going to get in the way, I'm going to continue it on Rumble and Kick, and we're just going to have to, I'm just going to have to clip it up later. It is what it is. But let's try again. Let's try again.
And I don't hear any sound.
Oh, you don't hear no sound? Wait, let me see here. Make sure. All right, guys, I'm making sure here. Browser lost connection. What's your? Wait, you say you hear no sound on the video? Make sure. Okay, no sound on the video. All right, no sound on the video. But y'all can see it? That's crazy. Huh. All right, then. So the video's been muted. All right, guys, let me go ahead and see what's going on with that one. That's strange. You said no sound on the video. All right, then. Let me check here because that's weird. Let's see. That one. I'm going to try this again. Here. All together.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how they take down the stream and then when you try and re-upload, the video doesn't have any sound.
Yeah, that's crazy as hell. But let me see here.
Have not read the Epstein files. Apparently you have.
Well, they're on the internet.
But when you say that.
Oh, it got cut again? Oh, yeah, I'm not even going to play with them. All right, they got it. Y'all got it, YouTube. Y'all got it. Y'all got it. Yep, I'm not even going to play with you guys. YouTube is temporarily blocked because we detected. Okay, yeah, I'm not even playing with you guys. Y'all got it. We're going to stream on that.
Well, and that's wild. That as soon as the sound came back and you re-upload it and to restart the video, it instantly took it down. It was waiting for you.
Like, man. And that's the funny thing about Tucker Carlson, reacting to Tucker Carlson, because it's so random. Some videos, they'll let you react to them completely. And then other videos, they'll like literally pick and choose. And they're picking and choosing. Picking and choosing. But hold on, man. Let me see if we can get the guys to come to Rumble. Because I know, let me see. Did it end on here as well? I think we're still going on the horizontal live, actually. For some reason, it's letting the horizontal live run. That's the crazy part. Because I ended it on vertical. So they could probably go to the horizontal. We'll see here. We'll see. Actually, I wonder is it doing that on my other one as well? But all right. Let's see here. Making sure. Let's see, set media. All right, cool. So we're still on the horizontal. Let's see what happens on the horizontal then. Because look like they playing games on that one.
That everybody knows that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent.
Everyone believes that.
I don't think everybody does. I don't know.
Well, everyone knows that he had contact with, and by the way, not just Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, which is much more distressing for me. I'm not Israeli, I'm American. I don't want my government having any contact with someone like Jeffrey Epstein. So the shame
I wouldn't either.
Is on the United States, as far as I'm concerned, just to be totally clear about that. Everyone's very sensitive about the Israel connection, not at all sensitive about the US connection, which I find very revealing. We should care about what our government does first, I think. But since you weighed in on it and said there's no evidence, I'm surprised that since that evidence has been open to the public for a month, since you've already weighed in publicly on this question, that you've made no effort to evaluate that evidence. Why is that?
I've just told you, I was certainly not aware that there were some specific allegations. I knew about the former prime minister, but I don't know him. I'm not sure I ever met him in my many times. You know, I've been to Israel over 100 times since 1973. The first time I came here was 1973, July. And it's almost 53 years of coming and going to this country. So I know the country well. I know a lot of people here, but I don't know everything and I don't know everybody, but I do a lot of people.
Of course. No. And I can see your.
Hold on, Lunatic. You don't still hear no sound or?
No, I can hear the video.
All right, perfect. Okay, that's an old message. My bad.
Your love for it, and I think that's great. But I'm talking about the U.S. government and its responsibility to, you know, there's a lot of complaint about conspiracy theories and everyone, you know, he's a hater. Everyone's assigning motive. But there's a way to end these conversations very quickly with facts. And I'm highly confused by.
Have you brought this up to the president?
I mean, no, I don't work for him. I've said this many times.
I know you don't work for him, but you go to the White House and you see people there. You and J.D. Vance are very good friends. So have you brought this up to them? Because
I have brought this up in public many times.
It's not on my portfolio, but apparently it's very strongly on your mind. And I'm
child
just thinking
molestation
you should
is a significant concern for me.
Well, it should be for everybody. But if
there's there is a charged child molester.
But I'm saying if you are very involved in the details of this,
I'm not.
And you think it's the U.S. government that's hiding and shielding somebody, then bring it up to the people that you personally know.
I don't think that. I know it because the Justice Department has said we have millions of documents we're not releasing.
Why are they not releasing?
I'm asking you as a U.S. government official.
Well, but
what the answer?
I'm a government official at the embassy in Jerusalem that has not one thing to do with the Justice Department and what they're investigating on any given day.
Again,
unless it involves.
And I don't want to argue or talk in circles, but you were the one who brought it up and said it's absolutely not true.
I was only responding to what I heard you say.
Okay, but now that you know there's evidence and we can settle this debate, you haven't looked at the evidence and you're not pushing for the release of the total corpus of evidence. And I'm confused because I want to believe that your goal is to get to the truth. And the fastest way to do that is by releasing the evidence. Don't you think?
You suggest that I can release the evidence?
I'm suggesting you could call for it right now.
Yep.
Well, fine, call for it. Let's have it all open. I thought it was being all opened up for everything I
Once it's open, I hope you'll read it because it's really interesting. And then it puts to rest a lot of the debate and it ends the name calling because we can say, here it is right there. And we don't have to call people names. We can just assess the documents. Let me ask you.
But you bring it up. I hope you will bring it up to people at the White House.
I'm bringing it up right now. I'm bringing it up now. And I'm asking, I just want to say this one last time, as the U.S. ambassador to Israel, I hope that you will make a formal request to the Israeli government to send every accused sex offender in this country back to the United States to face justice. And I don't understand why that hasn't been done. I'm confused.
Well, we'll try to clear up all the confusion that we have.
Well, if someone's been accused of trying to molest a child, I think it's...
Then certainly, and I'll check with the Justice Department because it is a DOJ issue and it would be handled through DOJ, the U.S., to the court systems in Israel. That's how it would be handled.
But the first step is the Israeli government saying, yes, we will allow you to extradite this person back. The person is being shielded by the government. That's why the person's here. That's why he fled here, so he wouldn't have to stand trial for trying to molest a child. I want to get to as I said at the outset, I said something awful that I regret that my wife barked at me about. I lashed out at Christian Zionists and evangelicals, and I just want to say again that I'm sorry. I've always liked them because they're pro-life and they're also really nice people. So for the third time, I'm sorry that I said that. I think part of my problem was I don't understand the theology and you are not a...
Oh, guys, we got 17 of y'all on Rumble. Make sure you guys like the video on Rumble, guys. Let's try to grow that Rumble audience. And if you're new here, make sure to follow me on Rumble as well.
Fake.
So, Seth, can we pause it just 1 second?
Yeah,
I sent you a link in the chat as far as what is the definition of a U.S. ambassador. So when Tucker Carlson is talking to Mike Huckabee, he is talking to the president's highest ranking representative to a foreign nation. Okay, so that's why Tucker Carlson is so flabbergasted talking to Mike Huckabee about how you don't know anything about this. Are you kidding me? You're not actually in the face of the president of Israel going, hey, we want these people prosecuted in the United States for crimes against children.
Man, that's a really good point. And I like how you put it. You're right. That is, bro, a U.S. ambassador is the president's highest ranking representative to a foreign nation in international organizations. So the fact that he just sat there in front of him and said, well, I didn't know that was going on with Israel. I mean, you should. Anything involving Israel, you should know about when it comes to the United States. Everything. Like, you can't be out here picking and choosing. Well, all right. Man, hey, a great point out.
And here's, you're an actual theologian. So, and I mean this with sincerity. I hear people say, those who bless Israel will be blessed. I know it's a reference to Genesis. I don't understand the connection between that concept and modern Israel and the geopolitical world. And so I'm going to stand back and
well,
ask
let's first define, because, from my days as a debater in high school and college, one of the things I knew, you didn't start the debate till you defined the terms.
Amen.
Let's define the terms.
Thank you.
What is a Christian Zionist? What does that mean to you? What does it mean?
I don't know. It's the people who call me a Nazi for asking what Israel means. I mean, that's kind of my, I don't even know.
But here's the point. If you say a Christian Zionist is a person who has a brain virus and is guilty of heresy, that's a pretty big charge.
I know. I shouldn't have made it. I made it out of anger and ignorance.
So,
and I'm
Christian, I think we can agree, is somebody who follows Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
Has a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Believe in his.
Here's the problem with Christian Zionists. Christian Zionists truly believe that helping out Israel is going to usher in the return of Christ, because once the people of Israel return to their holy land, then they think that this is going to usher in the return of Jesus Christ. But let's be real, it doesn't really say that anywhere in the Bible, to be honest with you. It doesn't say that, well, if you cut out this little part of Israel and you return all these people who are so-called Jews, but you can't really tie them genetically to Jews, if you just put them all up in here, Jesus will return. To be honest with you, that's not, and I'm not saying that's exactly what they believe, but it is part of what they believe, that if they do help out Israel, they get the Jews to return to the Holy Land, this should usher in the coming of the Messiah.
Death, burial, resurrection, has repented of one's sins, and have accepted him as one Savior. Would that be fair?
Amen.
Christian. Define that. Zionist. A Zionist simply means a person who believes that the Jewish people have a right to have a homeland where they have security and safety. Did you believe that the Jews have a right to live in Israel? Do you believe that Jews have a right to live in Israel? That would be a Zionist. That's all a Zionist is.
I have a million questions about what all of those terms mean.
Yeah.
But conceptually, I wish Israel no harm. I don't want to see them.
You want them to have a place where they can live with safety and security?
So I saw this recently in an extremely telling exchange between the lieutenant governor of Texas, who I know and I've always liked, and a woman I don't know, never met, who's on the Religious Liberty Commission or something. And she said, I'm a Catholic, but I'm not a Zionist. And they have this ferocious exchange. And he kept saying, and everyone on the panel seemed to keep saying, you have to believe in Israel's right to exist. Which I've never kind of questioned, just for the record, but it did raise two questions I think are really important. And I hope you'll answer them. One is, where does that right come from?
I would say it comes from, essentially, you could say it comes from the Bible. I would say that it does. But it comes also from a long iteration of historical precedents going to the Balfour Declaration of 1917. It comes from the League of Nations 1927. It comes from the United Nations 1947, the Declaration of Independence of the Israel State in May of 1948. They were immediately attacked. They won the war. They were attacked again in 1956. They won the war. They were attacked again in 1967 by 5 countries. They won the war. They were attacked again in 1973 in the Yom Kippur War. They won the war. The point is, does Israel have a right to exist? They also had wars in 1982 in Lebanon. They've had the intifadas, 2 of those. They've had
Lebanon again in 06. I was there. No, I'm very familiar with the modern history of the state.
Okay.
Pretty familiar, I think. And I've been
But a Zionist simply means somebody who believes that Israel has a right to exist. Now, the question is, do you believe Israel has a right to exist?
I don't know. It's a little deeper than that. It's a little deeper than that. A Zionist is like, yes, of course they believe that Israel has a right to exist, but I mean, we kind of all believe that. It'll make a Zionist. No, the thing about Zionists is that they honestly, truly believe that, yeah, if they help the Jews return to the Holy Land, that this will usher in their Messiah. I mean, or bring back Jesus. And this is a special sect of Christianity or denomination, however you want to, whatever you want to call it.
Yes, I mean, I want Israel to exist. Well, no, but I want to know what that means. So, like, do other countries have a right to exist?
Well, they do exist.
Do they have a right to exist? You keep saying Israel has a right to exist, and I want to know what other countries
have a legal right, because every international body in the last 100 years has said the Jewish people have a right
I understand,
to their indigenous homeland.
My question
so that's a legal right.
What other?
Do they have a biblical right? I would say that yes, but you may say they don't.
I don't know. I'm actually sincerely interested in finding out what you mean by a biblical right. But first, to the legal right, does any other country on the planet have the same right that Israel has to exist?
Well, you could say, does Jordan have a right to exist? When it was Transjordan and the Brits came and divided up the Middle East, and they gave some land to Jordanians, and they gave some land to the Saudis, and they gave some land to various Middle Eastern countries, and it was all carved up. And the French gave Lebanon its right to exist. Do they have a right to exist?
Do they?
Well, why not?
Okay. Every country.
Does the U.S. have a right to exist?
I'm asking you.
Okay. And I'm telling you, I think the U.S. has a right to exist.
Okay.
We came here, but we came there. We're in Israel now talking. But does the U.S. have a right to exist? Does anyone?
I mean, everybody has a right to exist. But the problem is, though, is that I guess it's the biblical right that y'all try to give, Israel. It's like they have a biblical right to exist. When I'm just like, I'm gonna be real with you. A country's right to exist is only upheld by their strength to defend their existence. So I don't know. Are you saying that Israel, deserves to exist outside of that natural order? But I don't know. Maybe he's going to clarify. Oh, and shout out to my man Jed. After everything that's been said in streams on YouTube, this video is what violates their policies. YouTube can eat a bag of rainbow colored dildos all the way to June and have a double serving till July. Well, God,
I'm dead. I'm dead.
Man. Bro, I wish I could show that on stream.
Question whether we have a right to exist?
I don't. Yeah, but I, of course, I'm for America.
Good for you.
But so every current country on the map has the same right to exist that Israel has. Is that what you're saying?
I think what we're saying is that when a country has established itself and it is following international law, it has been deemed by numerous bodies that it is indigenous to its homeland, as Israel is. This is its homeland. It goes back 3,800 years to the time of Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that the Jewish people just showed up here in 1948 and said, we're going to have some land.
Hold on. So those are two different tracks, and I just want to make sure that we separate them so I understand each one separately.
All right.
So you're saying there's the modern legal framework, and so you said a country that abides by international law has a right to exist.
I would say that is a part.
Would the inverse be true that a country that does not abide by international law forfeits its right to exist?
Not necessarily.
So here's where he's going to get Huckabee.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's going to get Huckabee here because Netanyahu has an arrest warrant for international war crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so he said, well, they follow international law. Like, and then he danced around the question when Tucker reiterated, like, it's kind of crazy how these people can sit here and gaslight you, like straight to somebody's face, and dance around subjects. Given the position of power that they are in, or what that title actually represents, right? This guy is literally like, I'm just a former pundit for a news channel. I'm a millionaire, and I'm just chilling back as an ambassador to this foreign nation that allows for criminals, basically, of our home nation that I represent. And I'm just sitting back, and I have no idea of what the fuck is going on, and then I'm going to dance around direct questions about and then say out of my own mouth that these countries are abiding by international law when there's literal arrest warrants for their prime minister. It is
And here's
wild.
the crazy thing is though, like Tucker kind of did say, like, so wait, if they're not in, abiding by international law, they lose their right to what, self-determination, or they lose the right to, I don't know, exist. Because if that's the case, then I mean, damn, Israel might have lost that one a minute ago with Netanyahu.
Yeah, this is crazy. Like he's saying that, oh no, this is 3,800 years old, but because they abide by, like, what the fuck are you saying, dude? I don't understand the logic coming out of this man's mouth. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think Turco Carlson's later on is going to just actually dive into this, because